Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wish to address the council form located on either end of the counter. Give it to either the chairman or council clerk prior to beginning the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words and actions. Thank you. All cell phones, pages, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. We'll have an invocation by Councilman John Amity and a pledge of allegiance by Councilwoman Jessica Domingue. If you would, please rise.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to come together to discuss matters in our community. Grant us your divine guidance in addressing these matters that are placed before us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We'll call the meeting to order of the special session, Wednesday, August 12th, 2020, 6 p.m. to order. Can I have a roll call? Ms. LeComte.
Mr. Babin? Here. Mr. Darren Guidry? Here. Mr. Charles Clare?
Here.
Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding?
Here.
Mr. Michel? Here. Mr. Amity? Here. Ms. Domingue? Here. Mr. Darren Guidry? Here. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 1, the public hearing to discuss the increased millage rates for the tax year 2020 for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provisions. City ad valorem adjusted millage, City of Houma fire adjusted millage, City of Houma police adjusted millage, City ad valorem adjusted and roll forward, City of fire adjusted and roll forward, City of Houma police adjusted and roll forward, drainage adjusted millage, drainage adjusted and roll forward, waste collection disposal adjusted millage, waste collection disposal roll forward, Terrebonne Arc adjusted millage, Terrebonne Arc adjusted and roll forward. Public once, public twice, public 3 times. Motion closed. Mr. Darren Guidry, second Mr. John Davy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 2 is public hearing to discuss the millage rate tax for year 2020 with no roll forward. Drainage bonds, 0.50 mils. Roads and bridge bonds, 0.50 mils. Sewage tax bonds, 0.50 mils. Parish tax alimony outside, 2.99 mils. Parish tax alimony inside, 0.149 mils. Juvenile detention Houma maintenance, 0.95 mils. Juvenile detention Houma maintenance, 0.93 mils. Recreation tax, 2.04 mils. Mental health center, 0.42 mils. Health unit, 1.66 mils. Road district number 6, 0.82 mils. Road lighting district number 1, 0.50 mils. Road lighting district number 2, 2.75 mils. Road lighting district number 3, 1.0 mils. Road lighting district number 4, 2.0 mils. Road lighting district number 5, 2.0 mils. Road lighting district number 6, 1.5 mils. Road lighting district number 7, 0.75 mils. Road lighting district number 8, 3.5 mils. Road lighting district number 9, 1.75 mils. And road lighting district number 10, 4.75 mils. Public once. Public twice. Public 3 times.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. John Navy, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Ms. Edmondson, are you speaking? Okay, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries.
What was the vote?
Public hearing to discuss millage rates for tax year 2020 for the Terrebonne Council on Aging milling. I have been advised by council that 2 speakers Ms. Donna Edmondson and Mr. Everett turned in speaker cards, and we've been advised not to let them speak due to the fact of the ongoing litigation between Council on Aging and Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. I have a speaker card for regarding Council on Aging, Mr. Robert Gorman.
All right. That is exactly what I objected to. Mr. Dupuy currently represents this is Julie Say, the parish attorney. I've had Mr. Dupuy and his partner are representing the Terrebonne Parish Council on Aging. We talk quite frequently with them. As of last week, we talked with him. I talked with him today. I advised him on the rules of professional responsibility. I advised him of the fact that this case is adversarial, in that this is not the appropriate forum for his client to be addressing y'all. Y'all, I'm represented by y'all. It is my recommendation that we have a reasonable justification because we cannot, we have an ongoing case. Part of it's set for hearing at the end of August. Part of it's set for hearing possibly in September, and part of it's in November. And therefore, I think this is nothing but a disturbance. And we do have the right.
We're gonna have to keep it down. We'll ask you to leave.
We have the right to not allow Mr. Dupuy or his senior personnel to come in here on this matter. I offered to Mr. Dupuy to put in writing anything he wanted, but because of the nature of the litigation, we cannot respond back. And I think we have the right to do so. That this is nothing that's going to cause consternation and issues. And I've advised that Ms. Edmondson and Mr. Verrett and Mr. Dupuy not be allowed to speak, and anybody else is with their senior management on this matter. And that's my advice. My advice on it.
And I would simply like to state, I'm sorry the microphone wasn't on before. The issue before this parish council today is the 2021 millage and whether or not to roll it over or to...
No, Mr. Chairman,
And
please
it
stop,
has nothing to do-
Mr. Chairman. Point of order, Mr. Chairman, I'm asking you, first of all, make Mr. Dupuy identify on the record who he is and who he represents.
I already did.
Okay.
My name is Brett Dupuy, and I represent the Terrebonne Council on Aging.
All right, Brett, have you instructed your client to come here tonight to speak on a matter that we've had discussions with, correct? No, listen, Brett, we're going to put it on the record. Have you, Brett, have you had discussion? Brett, have
Mr.
you?
Dupuy,
I don't have...
we're gonna have order.
Who are you going to recognize,
Okay, right now,
Mr. President?
I am going to take the advice of our legal counsel, and I'm not going to acknowledge you or Mr. Verrett or Ms. Edmondson.
That's in violation of the law.
I'm taking our legal advice.
A point of order, Mr. Chairman. All right. We are hearing you through, Mr. Chairman, we are hearing them through their legal counsel. They are represented. They are taking the forum where this is a public forum with media present, and we are not here and are put in a position that I do not want to respond. We will litigate this matter in a court of law. This goes to show, just listen to...
Okay,
This millage is not before the court. the millage that you're discussing today and whether or not to levy or not is not an issue, and it's not before the board.
The millage issue it is before, we've had discussions about it with Brett before as to the rights of what this council can do, whether the council as the governing body has the authority to decide whether it's going to levy the tax, levy a portion of the tax, or levy no tax. The Council on Aging has zero authority to levy a tax. If they could, they wouldn't be here. Okay, so what they're doing is that we do have filed, okay, because there's over 25 to 30 million dollars sitting in the cash accounts.
Mr. Chair?
Okay,
people
this
of Ter-
discussion is over. Mr. Gorman,
The people of Terrebonne Parish
this
voted this
discussion
millage
is
in.
over.
It's on the record, right? We got it on the record. Thank you.
My name is Robert Gorman. I'm not under the employ of Council on Aging. I'm here to speak on their behalf because I do work with them and have since 1992 in an organization called TRAC, the Terrebonne Readiness and Assistance Coalition, which is the oldest continuously operating disaster preparedness and response nonprofit in America. It was started in 1992 after Hurricane Andrew. I'm also the retired former executive director of Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Houma-Thibodeau, where I worked for 37 years. And it was in those two capacities that I've worked with the Council on Aging. So as I said, the Council on Aging's been active in disaster planning and recovery work since Hurricane Andrew. And they've been active on the TRAC board and on a group called BAR, which is the Bayou Area Readiness and Recovery Committee, and an unmet needs committee that helps families after disasters, after their insurance runs out, and they need extra help. Nonprofits, churches, and government come up and help them through this unmet needs committee. And the Council on Aging's been active on that committee since we started it in 1992. We have our meetings at the Council on Aging. The executive director of Council on Aging serves on the TRAC board along with several others of us. They, for several years, handled the announcements for the meetings and the mailings. They participate in our annual hurricane season planning. And as I said, they actively participate in the Unmet Needs Committee following a storm if there's damage and families have unmet needs. They also then help, their primary purpose in that committee is to help with case management and the distribution of supplies to families in need as part of the Unmet Committee work. What they supply to us is a warehouse for supplies, a telephone bank after storms, as I mentioned, the meeting room, and they've assisted with funding for our online disaster directory. And they also, of course, coordinate elderly transportation during disasters. So I just wanted to speak up and put that on the record as far as what Council on Aging does in terms of disaster preparedness and assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Renee Rhodes?
Renee Rhodes, 1115 Franklin Avenue. I am John Q. Public, but I was on the board of directors for 6 years with the Council on Aging. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about the situation that does present itself, that by December of next year, the Council of Aging, because of your decisions and because of what you're choosing to do, will no longer exist. So what happens then? You don't know all the things that we do at the Council on Aging and what transpires. How many of you are aware of the fact that we have a $65 million project, and that's exactly why we were saving our money in St. George, for the St. George project, because we still have a shortage of elderly housing. It's a $65 million project. How many of you are aware of it? Because I didn't see any of you at the meeting when we announced it. None of you. None of you you're all sitting there, every one of you voted and thought it was okay So last September 2019, you stopped sending money to the Council on Aging. So by December, those services, this next December, those services will be gone. So you know what will happen at that particular point? There will be no more senior citizen centers. There won't be one at Bayou Towers. There won't be one in Chauvert. There won't be one in Montague. There won't be Shady Acres. There won't be Shreva. There won't be Shady Lanes. And there won't be the East Park lunch site. None of those things will transpire. Did you know that we feed 900 people per day and provide those services to people every day? Did you know that 3 times a month that your senior citizens get commodities? Those things won't take place anymore. Did you know that we start the day at the Council on Aging at 3:30 a.m.? That's what time the Council on Aging goes to work. 3:30 a.m. is when our first staff gets there. Did you know that we provide dialysis services for those patients until 8:30 p.m.? Are you aware of the fact that we do that? Are you aware of the fact of all the different things and services that we provide by way of at-home services for people? Nursing services. We have services that if your parents can't no longer help take a bath, we'll send somebody out there to help them with their personal care. Did you know that? Did you know that we have health and wellness programs? Do you know that we have a drug program to help people get less expensive prescriptions? These are all things that the Council on Aging does. How much do you think it costs in a year to run the Council on Aging? Any of you want to guess at that number? It's $8 million. That's how much the Council on Aging spends every year to provide the services that we provide. The people of this parish 40 years ago approved a millage. They came back, they voted on it once. They came back again, they voted on it a second time. They came back again a third time, that the people of this parish said, we want the Council on Aging, not Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government wasn't even open when this millage was around. The police jury system was still alive. 3 times the people of this parish decided, we want this.
Have a motion to extend Mr. Darren Guidry, second Mr. Gerald Michelle, all in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, you have another minute, please.
The people of this parish decided that. Now I'm going to mail each one of you a copy of everything that was voted on. And I want you to read that, not as a group. I want you to read it in your office. I want you to read it this weekend. And I want you to realize that because you're trying to use a semicolon or comma, you're trying to change the right of the people who voted for it. And if that doesn't work, we're trying to use an attorney general's opinion, which it doesn't even hold up in a case of law, it's just an opinion. But I want somebody here to be a leader. I want one of you to say, you know what, this is not the right thing to do. Our seniors shouldn't suffer because of the fact that we don't understand what's happening at the Council on Aging, and we don't know what it is. The Council on Aging was established in 1964 by the Old Americans Act. We are a federally funded program. Your attorney himself told you that we are not part of Terrebonne Parish government.
Your time's up. I mean, wrap it up. You got some final statements, just wrap it up. Ms. Michelle?
We are on item C, is that correct?
Well, item 3.
Okay, we read through all items on item 1. We read through all the items. We didn't vote on anything, did we? We just... No. Okay,
We
I
just
just want to make sure we didn't vote on anything. Okay, all right, thank you. And thank you for coming, sir, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Motion closed. Motion closed, public hearing, Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. John Amity. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion adjourned, Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. John Davy. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Notice of the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wish to address the council form located on the table near the entrance to the building and give it to either the chairman or council clerk prior to beginning the meeting. Individuals addressing the council should be respectful of others in their choice of words and actions. All cell phones, pages, electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. We'll have an invocation by Councilman John Amity and a pledge by Councilman Darren Gidry. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for this day, Lord. We ask for your continued guidance by your Holy Spirit, Lord, and lead us in the directions that we need to for the betterment of the Terrebonne Parish and its citizens, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We'll call our regular session meeting to order at Wednesday, August 12th, 2020, 6:15 p.m. I think it's later than that. We'll have a roll call. Ms. LeConte, please.
Mr. Babin? Mr. Dirk Gidry? Mr. Charles Clare?
Here.
Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding?
Here.
Mr. Michaud? Mr. Amity? Ms. Domingue? Mr. Darren Gidry? Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. Approve the minutes of the regular council session held on July 15th, 2020. Move Mr. Darren Gidry, second Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Distribute the minutes of the regular council session held on July 29th, 2020. We've done that. Item 1, general business. Adopt ordinances to levy the adjusted millage rates for tax year 2020 for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provision. Adopt an ordinance to adopt the adjusted millage rate for tax year 2020 for the parish subject to the following roll forward provisions. City ad valorem tax, 6.11 mils. City of Houma fire, 5.01 mils. City of Houma police, 5.01 mils. We're gonna do them individually, right? Move Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. We're moving the City of Avalon, the City of Houma Fire, and the City of Houma Police.
Mr. Trustclair, if I can help you with that one. The City ad valorem, City of Houma, and City of Houma Police, City of Houma Fire, City of Houma Police, those three are gonna be together. So that's considered one. And then the first one you're doing is you're gonna vote to adopt the adjusted rate. And then we're gonna adopt to roll forward. And then we'll go to the next, which is drainage, and you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna adopt to adjust, and you're gonna adopt to roll forward. And then the other two after that. So it's individually, but these three are grouped together as one.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, now we're going to adopt an ordinance to increase millage rates, but not in excess of the prior year's maximum rates on all taxable property for 2020. And when collected, the revenues from said taxes shall be used only for the specific purposes for which said tax have been levied. City ad valorem tax, adjusted rate 6.11, 2020 levy 6.20 mils. City of Houma Fire, adjusted rate 5.01 mils, 2020 levy 5.08 mils. City of Houma Police, adjusted rate 5.01 mils, 2020 levy 5.08 mils. We have a motion by Mr. John Amity, second Mr. Darren Gidry, and Mr. Michelle.
Thank you. And just for the sake of the public, I want to point out that what we did with the adjusted millage was, basically, we lowered the millage to meet what was already being collected. And now what we're doing is we're rolling forward the millage to get back to the millage that was voted on, or the millage that we had previously.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay? And so, on these three specific ones, we're rolling that millage forward. Now, keep in mind that anybody who qualifies for the senior exclusion, where they don't have to get their homes, their assessment on their homes are frozen, they are not going to have tax increases. And on those situations where we do not roll forward, they will actually have a small tax decrease. Is that correct, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, and thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Michelle. Next item, adopt an ordinance to, oh, I'm sorry, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Next item is adopt an ordinance to adopt the adjusted millage rate for tax year 2020 for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provisions, drainage tax .70 mils. Move Mr. Gerald Michelle. Second, Mr. Darren Gidry, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Now we're going to adopt an ordinance to increase the millage rate, but not in excess of the prior year's maximum rates on all taxable property for the year 2020 when collected. The revenues from said taxes shall be used only for specific purposes for which said taxes have been levied. Drainage tax, adjusted rate 7.06, 2020 levy 7.15 mils. Move Mr. John Amity, second Mr. Darren Gidry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carried. Mr. Michelle, your lights on? Okay, no problem. Next is adopt an ordinance to adopt the adjusted millage rate for tax year 2020 for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provisions. Waste collection and disposal, 10.83 mils. Move Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. John Navy. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move on to adopt an ordinance to increase the millage rates, but not in excess of the prior year's maximum rates on all taxable property showing the official assessment roll for the year 2020. And when collected, the revenues from said taxes shall be used only for the specific purposes for which said taxes have been levied. Waste collection and disposal, adjusted rate, 10.83. 2020 levy, 10.97. Move Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. Danny Babin, Mr. Michelle.
Is this the same millage that we're looking at rededicating?
Yes, sir.
Okay, which indicates to me that we have too much money in it, okay? And so I would definitely be against rolling this forward. We should not be rolling this forward at this time. If we do rededicate it, we always have the option to roll it forward in the future. Is that correct?
No, sir. If you rededicate it, you would lose that 10.97 mils. So that's why we want to roll it forward so that we're at the adjusted maximum. And when we rededicate the mills out, it's going to reduce this amount.
Say that last part again?
It's going to, when we rededicate it, it's going to take the mill out of here. So if we don't roll it forward, it's going to be even less for the future year. We don't want to lose that maximum rate.
I guess that's an opinion. Okay, all right, I'm gonna vote against this because I don't think it should be rededicated in the first place.
Can I have a motion and a second? Oh, Mr. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
Motion carries. 8-1. Next item is adopt an ordinance to adopt the adjusted millage rate for the tax year 2020 for the parish property taxes subject to roll forward provisions. Terrebonne art tax, 5.14 mils. Move Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. John Navy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Adopt an order to increase the millage rate, but not in excess of the prior year's maximum rates on all taxable property shown on the official assessment roll for for the year 2020, and when collected, the revenues from said taxes shall be used only for the specific purposes for which said taxes have been levied. Terrebonne Arc tax, adjusted rate 5.14 mils, 2020 levy 5.21. I have a motion, Mr. Darren, I have Mr. No, Danny Babin, second by Mr. John Amity. Excuse me. And Mr. Gerald Michelle.
Thank you. Another clarification, tell me if I'm correct in this. If we choose not to roll something forward, that means that their level of revenues should remain the same, other things being equal. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And from those that I'm speaking to about ARC, they're kind of plush on their funds. They have enough funds. They don't need a raise. They're doing great things. This is nothing against ARC. They're doing wonderful things, and they're doing it responsibly. They don't need a roll forward here. They can certainly do with the amount of revenues that they have had. And so for that reason, I would really recommend not rolling this one forward. If we're rolling forward automatically, we'd just as soon not be here, because we should not be rolling everything forward just when it's not needed. Thank you.
Mr. Darren Gidry.
Yeah, and just as a clarification, this roll forward is .07 mils. 0.07 mils. So this particular roll forward would probably barely keep up with the increased cost that Terrebonne Arc had. Because it's so low, I support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Michelle.
Just for the record, a lot of low increases create a heavy burden on an economy and on a people who are suffering right now with unemployment at a ridiculously high rate and with the oil field down to virtually nothing. Thank you.
Seeing no further lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Next item is adopt an order to levy on the 2020 tax roll on all property subject to taxation by the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. Drainage bonds, 0.50 mils. Roads and bridge bonds, 0.5 mils. Sewage tax bonds, 0.5 mils. Parish tax alimony outside, 2.99 mils. Parish tax alimony inside, 1.49 mils. Juvenile detention, home and maintenance, 0.95 mils. Juvenile detention, home and maintenance, 0.93 mils. Recreation tax, 2.04 mils. Mental health center, 0.42 mils. Health unit, 1.66 mils. Road district number 6, 0.82 mils. Road lighting district number 1, 0.5 mils. District number 2, 2.75 mils. District number 3, 1 mil. District number 4, 2 mils. District number 5, 2 mils. District number 6, 1.5 mils. District number 7, 0.75 mils. District number 8, 3.5 mils. District number 9, 1.75 mils. And district number 10, 4.75 mils. So move Mr. Gerald Michelle, second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Adopt an ordinance to levy on the 2020 tax roll all property subject to taxation by the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. Council on Aging, 0 mils. Move Mr. Darren Gidry, second Mr.
Zero. Zero.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it, and I'll acknowledge your light, and you can speak on the mic. And I'm adopting an ordinance to levy on the 2020 tax roll all properties subject to taxation by the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. Council on Aging, 0 mils. Mr. Michelle.
as you could probably tell from the exchange at the beginning of this meeting, this is all legal maneuvering, okay? The Council on Aging had a tax voted for, and it deserves, maybe we don't need to roll it forward. As a matter of fact, I don't think we need to roll it forward, but we do not need to not levy the tax. They can continue with their legal maneuverings by continuing to hold the funds until such time that the legal process works its way out. But for us not to levy the tax is, in my opinion, a bullying tactic and certainly should not be done. We need to levy this tax for the seniors in our parish, then let the courts figure out how they're going to spend them in the future. This is ridiculous to see that it's even on here in this manner, and these people deserve what's right and what we voted for them to receive. And when I say them, I don't necessarily mean the Council on Aging. That's for courts to decide. I'm talking about for the elderly in this parish.
Mr. Darren Guidry?
Yeah, and I'm not going to comment on any of the things some of the things that were said tonight, because some of them are within our legal framework, but what I will just comment on is our audit report that we had yesterday, and my meeting with Mr. Dan Taffer, who gave a report. I say yesterday, it was on Monday. He gave a report to us. And his report said that currently we have $12 million in the parish that can be used for these services, which I think it was said here today, $8 million is what it costs for the service. So we have a year and a half in the bank right now. Am I right, Ms. Malden? We have a year and a half in the bank. So this year we don't have to levy the millage. And I know Mr. Michel was really adamant about the roll forwards. Both roll forwards add up to 0.21 mils. 0.21 mils. This millage is 7.9 something mils, close to 8 mils. Not point, 8 mils. So this is going to give a huge tax cut to people who are hurting right now. Mr. Michel mentioned our businesses, our oil industry. How about the middle class people? You know, I know there's some discussion about housing for elderly, and I support housing for elderly, but right now I got to be concerned with the elderly that own houses. And Mr. Michel mentioned the roll forward, the elderly won't pay that. If they're frozen, they won't pay the roll forward. But guess what? The 8 mils, the elderly will pay. So I want to give a tax cut this year to the businesses, the elderly, the middle class, and this is one way to do it. And if we can do it and still fund what needs to be funded, we have 12 million in the bank and it takes 8 million. That's why I am supporting this, Mr. Michel. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Michel?
My colleague does a great job of towing the administrative line. What I'd like to point out, though, is that we don't know the intricate details, and maybe we should, but we don't know the intricate details of that $12 million budget and what's dedicated and what's not dedicated, and whether or not that's really going to be enough money for them to who's to say Mr. Guidry is correct in his assumptions versus the gentleman who just spoke there? I don't know which one of them is correct. I just don't know. But the fact is, this was a tax that was voted on by the public at least 3 times, according to the gentleman who spoke earlier. I do not recommend rolling it forward, but I certainly don't recommend not levying the tax. Who are we to override what the voters have asked?
Mr. Dove?
I just want to assure the public and the viewing audience that all services will be administered to the elderly. Nothing will be cut to the elderly as long as I'm parish president, and I believe as long as these council members are sitting up here. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further lights, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition?
Nay.
Motion carries. I have a motion by Mr. Darren Gidry to deviate, go to public 6:30 public hearings, and a second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Consider an introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2020 adopted operating budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items to provide for related matters. LA Safe Buyout, $2,850,000. CESF Program, HPD, $38,718. General Fund, Housing and Human Service, $4,000. Rapid Rehousing Preservation Grant, $148,632. CARES Act, CDBG, $564,639. Public once, public twice, public three times. Motion closed, Mr. Derek Gidry. Second, Mr. John Amity. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion adopt, Mr. Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. Amity. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Item B, consider introduction of an ordinance to amend the certain portions of section 18-289 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances to remove parking meters along Barrow Street from Bayou Terrebonne to Wood Street. Public once. Public twice. Public three times. Motion closed, Darren Gidry. Second, Mr. John Amity. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carried. Motion adopt, Mr. Darren Gidry.
Second.
Second, Mr. Carl Hardick. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion passed. Motion go back in regular order, Mr. Darren Gidry.
Second.
Second, Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carried. Item 2, staff reports. Update on drainage pump station generators and other projects. Oh, I'm sorry. I go back to, wait, where we at now? I'm lost.
G.
D, okay. Excuse me. Item D is a resolution authorizing the parish president to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Louisiana through the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority Board regarding the construction of the Elliott Jones Pump Station.
So move.
Move, Mr. Carl Harding, second, Mr. John Davy. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Mr. Dove. Put your mic on. Put your mic on, Gordon.
The slides on, please. Wait, I think I have the slide. It's my great pleasure to announce that the state of Louisiana, what the council so graciously just passed, authorizing me to sign on behalf of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, is a $10 million Coastal Protection Restoration Authority fund, which we do not pay back. Let me repeat that. That is a $10 million fund to build the Elliott Jones Pump Station, which is in Mr. Carly Harding's district, but it serves about four other councilmen's district by pumping out the Chacahula Basin. I want to especially thank the governor of the state of Louisiana, CPRA Chairman Chip Klein, Bryn Haas, also our delegation, Brett Elaine, Mike Feasey, Tanner McGee, Jerome Zarang, and Beryl Amity for walking this and helping us to go through. We started this over 2 years ago when we went and asked the state for these monies. We're about to get the permit, so we're very close to the permit. And as you can see, it is identical to Hanson, which should be, the Hanson pump station to pump the Chacahula Basin should be completed in about another 40 days. We're very close. And this is 1,000 CFS, 4 60-inch pumps. It's going to have two megawatt generator, diesel generator backups. We should start construction. We should be able to go out to bid. We have a few more land rights to get. And we should go out in the next couple of months. It's a $14 million project, 10 million of it which is being moved today. We've already funded $1.5 million for the engineering, which is complete. And we started this project in 2017, and we're moving it forward. And this will be the second pumping the Chacahula Basin. And as you can see, it's by the Shell plant, which is Elliott Jones. You can see the access road that goes around the substation. And you have four pumps. They're going to pump 1 million gallons every 2 minutes and 15 seconds. With this pump in Hanson, we will be pumping 1 million gallons every 1 minute and 7 seconds. So this is a tremendous to the Chacahula Basin. As you well know, there's 5 parishes that drain into the Chacahula Basin, and unfortunately it all goes to Bob Black, and it's up to us to get it out of there. But this has been moved forward, and I want to thank also our lobbyist, Mary Patricia Ray, who was instrumental in it, and Ignacio, who was the engineer for the state on it, and of course this council, as we started it 2 years ago, and we kept it going, the delegation, and this is a tremendous move, and it is $10 million I'm going to be signing, and like I said, we don't pay it back. It's a grant, basically, and we're going to move forward with it. Thank y'all very much, and I want to thank this council and the people of Terrebonne Parish. We are solving our drainage problems, and we hope to complete this in about 1.5 years. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I want to follow up with what President Dove was saying. A lot of people don't realize how much Terrebonne Parish drain is. It's not just Terrebonne Parish. My district in Shreveport drains all of Thibodaux, and this is going to help our area with the Chacahula Basin. So I want to thank administration for working diligently along with the engineering firm and our delegation and our lobbyists for getting this done. Along with Hanson, we'll really be able to get a good handle while it's not sitting in my district, because my wife represents the Gibson area. I know all the problems that are happening there for Mr. Harding's district, and I think the people, when this thing comes online, are going to be really pleased to see that water not in their yards anymore. So again, thank you, administration, for all you're doing.
Thank you. Mr. Dove, did you have something else?
No, like I said, it's a great move. If you live in the Chacahula Basin area with just Hanson running right now, you see how low the waters are. We're presently dredging out Bob Black. We're doing some dredge work in there, and we're going to move it forward. And we have a good delegation. We've got all our delegations on money committees. And I also want to thank GIS Engineering, Mr. O'Neill Marlbrew, and Mr. Dustin Marlbrew, and Christopher Janice, who brought this, who were able to obtain the permit. What was great about this is our mitigation fee was only $64 million. $64,000. Candace is looking at it. That is unbelievable, because we are going to be pumping along with Hanson 109,000 acres of swampland. And I also want to thank Mike Sobert with Waterworks and the Waterworks Board, who has worked with us every step of the way, because they do have a water reservoir in Bob Black. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, Mr. Dove, and I'm glad we're finally seeing the second piece of this happen. I remember when you and I spoke a little over 4 years ago, when we were looking at this area and figuring out solutions and came up with this. I gotta admit, the way government sometimes work, I was wondering whether I would still be a councilman when we were able to finally get the Hanson open, much less the Elliott Jones. And it looks like we will see, before I get out of office, we'll have both Hanson and Elliott going in an area that was basically ignored for so many years. Will finally get the attention they deserve. And I know Mr. Harding and I both represent that area, and I know he has heard it from those people. And I thank you. I thank GIS. People don't realize how important it is for those guys to have gotten the engineering out on those major projects as quickly to get it going. So I think that not only the results that we're seeing, but I think the timing in this is, tantamount to almost a miracle. So great job to all involved. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Seeing no further lights, did I get a motion a second on it? Yeah, we voted? We did vote, okay. Mr. Carter, have we voted?
Yes, we have.
We voted, or we just have a motion and a second? We did? Okay. Thank you. Okay, item E is a resolution giving notice of an intent to adopt an ordinance to amend certain portions of Chapter 6, Article 6 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances as per the attached Exhibit A and call for public hearing so as to address comment, questions, and concerns regarding deployment of small cell wireless facilities in Terrebonne Parish and calling a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Moves to Danny Babbitt, second Mr. John Amity. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, next item, staff reports. Now it's your turn, Mr. Toops. Staff reports? Pumps and drainage? You have a report?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Trostclair. If you refer to the reports that were distributed to you just a little bit ago, as of this morning, we have 192 of 194 pumps in the parish that are working, which represents a 98.9% efficiency. Going down the list, the two pump stations on St. Louis Canal Road, the one at Cavanis and the one at Westview, Energy has started installing the poles, the transformers, and the wires, and Shockwave has started the trenching work to run the conduit to go from the transformers to the control panels. On the pump station on St. Louis Canal at Westside, we're still working on getting the servitude for that piece of property. We started fabrication of the sump, and we're also getting prices on covers and flap gates that's needed in association with that project. On to Plantation Gardens, we did get the diesel electrical but hydraulic pump repaired. It has been placed back in position. We got the pump running on the diesel side of the power pack. When we went to reconnect the electrical, we found that the motor starter was bad. So we ordered a new motor starter. A replacement has been ordered, and we should receive that in about 1 week. Once we get it, we estimate a day to reinstall it. On Industrial Boulevard, the new work that's been going on, Norris and Boudreaux has completed driving the sheet piles for the new 42-inch pump sump. They are also presently installing brackets to hang the pump. They're digging out the sump in preparation for the pouring of a new concrete sump base. This is something that is not presently on the pump station, so we're making it better. Norris and Boudreaux is also hauling limestone for the pad for the diesel drive engine, and we did receive the automated screw gate and actuator for the gravity control valve. On pump station D19 in Lower Bayou de Large, we've temporarily locked out this pump station because the levee district is extending the discharge pipes with their levee realignment project. But this pump station is 100% operational, and we could put it online at any time if needed. This was done for safety reasons. On D35 Gibson Recreation, this is a very old pump station, and we had to remove the gearbox. The gearbox is just about shot, so we sent it to the factory to get rebuilt, and we're waiting to get a report from them. And but we do have a portable pump in place, and it's working on floats. On D41 William Street, one of the 36-inch pumps are down. M&L is working on the fuel injectors on the head. We believe that's the problem, and we should have that pump station back operating at 100% before the end of the week. D51 Leeret Street, we're still working on design. We feel that we need to put a retention pond in that area. The dirt being hauled on the Montague levee lift is still ongoing, weather permitting, and with the water level going down on the Chacapula Basin, as denoted by President Dove earlier, we was able to remove the 4 portable pumps on Savan Road and the 1 portable pump on Old Spanish Trail. Regarding the emergency generator report, all emergency generators were run as of yesterday. No issues were reported, and all of them are operational at this time. That concludes my report, unless anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deuce. Mr. Darren Gidry? Mr. Dove?
Yes, I just want to add to that, a very, very thorough report, but, you know, we are working on the coverings for these new pump stations, these smaller ones, so we haven't forgot about that. They will be covered at the end of the day. There will be fences around them. We're just trying to get them all in place. On St. Louis Canal Road, I've gotten with David Rome, and we have ordered some automobile guardrails that we're gonna put on each one of those, pumps, because they, you know, they right off the road, so no one will hit it if they run off the road, and hopefully it guides them back on. But the coverings, we have been working on, and to the people along at the Industrial Road Pump Station, which is Dirk Gidry's district, we are moving as fast as humanly possible to get another pump installed there. It will be a 42-inch pump. And like I said, we hope to have it online within the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on the weather. But we are moving as fast as humanly possible. We've dug all the ditches at the request of Mr. Dirk Gidry. We've excavated all the ditches in that area. I don't know if they finished with all of them, but I know they're close to it. And so I thank y'all for y'all patience up in Acadian and Laban and Paris Lane and all that area, all for industrial. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Mr. Danny Babin?
Yeah, Mike, thank you for the report. It's well up to date as usual. The Plantation Gardens, people back there are quite aware there were 2 pumps before. We have the 1 pump in there now. And I assured them this afternoon, because they called about it running at low RPMs, and ensured them that it was on diesel, and that once it's put back on electric, the RPMs will increase. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. They're very astute on listening to things and seeing what is happening back there. So once we get it, and you said within a week we should be back on the electric side of it, correct? And the only other thing, because the Hanson pumps work so well, and we're at low water right now, we don't have any of the Hanson pumps on at this particular time, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Seeing no further lights, we're going to move on to public wishing to address the council. We have a few speaker cards. I want to remind the speakers that we have 3-minute time limit. If you have something to say, we will extend your time for a minute or 2. First card is going to be Mr. Clifton Pierce, road signs. State your name and address, please.
My name is Clifton Pierce, 201 Leeret Street, Homer, Louisiana. I'm up here to talk about these road signs and stuff, but being as everybody brought up about the pumps and all of that, we really appreciate the pumps on the Hanson. I live on Leeret. Mr. Harden lives on down the street. He's getting water from the back, out of the swamp, and Bob Black. Us, we just got water out of the Hanson. And when they put the pump back there, probably Mr. Babin was our councilman then. I don't know. They put the pump back there and they put a levee around from the 3rd block from back. That took care of Leeret. The water's really low on the Hanson. But what I came up to talk about tonight Well, 22 years ago, we started a little catfish rodeo, shoe pick rodeo on Bow Black. We put our signs down to Deadwood and Donna and the north end of the parish. Well, we had a 4x3 sign right there across from the Savannah Groceries on the corner of Southtown Mandalay and Savannah Road. Well, they took it up. The whole corner is covered with political signs. Our sign was 4x3. Then I got with the landowner, which is Mr. Arthur Bro. Every year we've been putting a sign there for 20 years. And it was taken up. And when I got in contact, I went to the council, the government towers twice. They can't come down and I can't go up. So I did get my sign back. And the base of it is still in the ground. All they did was break it off. And those signs cost us around $100 a piece time we put them up with the framework. If I'm illegal, I want to know it. They got city marshal signs there, and they got let's drain Chacahula signs there. And mine was further from the road, closer to the bayou, than the other four. I can't get no answer from the lady on the second floor, and why they took it up. And I want to put it back down because we sell most of our tickets right there. We're not Hercules. We don't give away $12,500. We give away $1,000. And that's all I got to say. Just that's it. If anybody can find out if I can put my sign back up, my number is 985-688-8645.
Mrs. Pierce, I think Mr. Pulaski is going to respond to you.
Yeah, it's on, right? Yes. I'm sure that was our nuisance abatement division, our sign guy that picked that up. I'll check with Dion. We'll get that taken care of. I got your number right here. We'll take care of it. We certainly see plenty of fish and rodeo signs around the parish, so I'll take care of that.
Okay, Mr. Pulaski said he would take care of it. He's got your phone number?
Yeah, that's all. If it's illegal, I don't want it there. You know, and it's that simple.
Well, we definitely want to work with you. We want to help your organization out.
We had to move it. It was due for August the 25th. We have it in August. That's so all them game farmers can come fish. It's right before planting time and everything, and they can come in and fish shoe bait. And then we fry them in the afternoon. You know, I thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
And thank y'all for draining us down there.
You have a good day. Next is Mr. Jerome Five, Drainage. Mr. Five is in the audience. Next, Ms. Christy Neal. Christy Neal. Okay, that's all the speaker cords for item 3. Moving on. Committee reports. Budget Finance Committee. Mr. Navy.
I'd like to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee meeting held on August the 10th, 2020, and call 4 public hearings on the following. That the Budget and Finance Committee introduce an ordinance to declare as surplus 3 tax properties adjudicated to the Terrebonne Consolidated Government in which the parish has various percent interest. To require authorization to dispose in said properties in accordance with LERS 47-2196, 162 and 164 Klondike Road with 10% interest, 2007 Mary Hughes Drive with 25% interest, Deadwood Road with 50% interest, and calling a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, August 26, 2020, 6:30 p.m. That the Budget and Finance Committee introduce an ordinance to declare surplus tax property located 108 Beth Ann Avenue adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government to acquire authorization to dispose in said property according with LERS 47-2196, calling a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, August 26, 2020, at 6:30 p.m. Also, that the Budget and Finance Committee introduce an ordinance to amend 2020 budget of the following Terrebonne Parish consolidated government so as to adjust the 2020 adopt the beginning fund balance and the net position to actual as per the 2019 audit financial statement and call a public hearing on August the 26th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. That the Budget and Finance Committee introduce an ordinance to amend the 2020 adopted operating budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items to provide related matters: CARES Act, $1,690,560, FEMA reimbursement, $483,279, Homer Downtown Development, $29,040, Homer Downtown Development donation, $1,250, and calling a public hearing on said matter August the 26th, 2020, at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Navy, second Mr. Amity. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee meeting held on August 10th, 2020. And I have one public hearing as follows: to introduce an ordinance to declare as surplus 22 tax properties adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and to acquire authorization to dispose of said properties in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47-2196, and call a public hearing on said matters on Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. The properties are as follows: 3310 Grand Caillou Road, 7288 Shrimpers Row, 8965 Grand Caillou Road, 182 Marjorie Street, unaddressed lot on Ave Street, 107, 117, 119, and 121 Ave Street, 180 Rose Street, 301 Woodway Drive, 115 Jadon Drive, 4291 and 4291A Nicholas Street, 957 Highway 55, 2606 and 2608 Larry Street, 454 Richmond Avenue, 327 and 331 Ruth Street, 211 Stovall Street, 123 Morrison Avenue, 3111 Betty Ann Street, 545 Polk Street, 500 Mobile Estates Drive, 107 Benoit Crossing Street, 4784 North Bayou Black Drive, and Jeffrey Duplantis Court unaddressed.
Motion by Mr. Amity,
Second.
second by Mr. Harding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Public Services Committee, Mr. Harding.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee meeting held August 10th, 2020, and I have no public hearings.
Motion by Mr. Harding, second Mr. Guidry, Dirk Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Community Development Planning, Ms. Domingue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion tonight that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee meeting held on August 10th, 2020, excluding agenda item number 3, the resolution approving the proposed changes to the Gustav Ike Disaster Recovery Plan regarding specific infrastructure and projects throughout the parish, as requested by administration, and calling one public hearing on the following: considering the introduction of an ordinance to amend ordinance number 7120 to amend chapter 19, article 2, parades, division 1, section 19-31 of the Terrebonne Parish Code to provide clarification of the Mardi Gras Parade Safety Committee membership, and calling for a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, August 26, 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Ms. Domingue, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 5, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District number 6, one vacancy due to resignation. Mr. Ray Darrow submits the application and resume for consideration. Motion by Mr. Darren Guidry to appoint Mr. Open, close, and appoint Mr. DeRoche. Second, Mr. John Amity. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. DeRoche in the audience? Moving on. Vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Coteau Fire District, 1 expired term due to resignation. Rec District 2-3, 1 unexpired term due to a resignation. Registered District number 10, 1 unexpired term due to resignation and 1 expiring term, 9/11/20. Home Board of Adjustments, 1 expiring term, 9/1/20. TITA, 3 expiring terms, 9/9/20, representing 1 each of the following: NAACP, Chamber of Commerce, and SCIA. Veterans Board, 3 expiring terms, 9/17/20, representing 1 each for the following: Marine Corps, Legislative Delegation North, and Parish President, North of Intercoastal. Item 7, council members' request discussion. Item 8 is Councilwoman Jessica Domingue, discussion and possible action regarding creating a Terrebonne Parish Recreation Modernization Task Force. Ms. Domingue.
No, after you. After her.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been asked, what do I believe is wrong with recreation in Terrebonne Parish? The answer is that I look at recreation through the eyes of parents. The populations have moved around so much over the past several decades. In many communities, the closest recreation facilities are in neighboring recreation districts instead of the ones collecting their property taxes. The location of specific types of complexes like pools often are nowhere near the larger populations. I look at my council district 5, where there's a 35-minute drive across the parish to a swimming pool if a child wants to participate in swim team. For working parents, that's impossible. With a few exceptions, modern outdoor equipment like adaptive parks for the disabled or outdoor exercise equipment for seniors are non-existent. It might be a 40-minute drive across the parish for a disabled child to have access to an adaptive park. The problem is not our recreation infrastructure is designed for what Terrebonne Parish looked like in 1960 instead of what it looks like in 2020. We need a parish-wide strategic vision to make sure that our children and families have all equal access to facilities. I honestly don't know what the ultimate answer is. None of you do either. Maybe the correct solution is not full consolidation. Maybe it's going down to 4 or 5 districts and redrawing some of the lines. We will never know unless we conduct some sort of study. We can either pay thousands of dollars to an out-of-town consultant, or we can avoid costs to taxpayers by bringing together residents from all corners of Terrebonne. What I know is that it's very disingenuous to suggest that continuing with a bunch of district lines from 1957 is optimal for the 21st century. What I'm proposing today is that we create the Recreation Modernization Task Force. Each council member was provided a copy of the charter several days ago. Some council members read the charter and offered feedback, which was included in the final document. It will consist of a 15 voting board member from each of the 11 recreation districts and members of the business communities. In addition, there will be other non-voting stakeholders involved in the process. A draft of recommendations will be brought to the council by December 15th with final version by January 31st, 2021. The goal is to provide an election referendum for the October 9th, 2021 ballot to be voted on by the people of Terrebonne Parish. I want to give the residents of Terrebonne Parish a voice in their future. A vote against allowing people to vote for their beliefs is a vote against the democratic process. So tonight I'd like to make a motion to create the Recreation Modernization Task Force.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Jessica Domingue and a second, Mr. Navy. And we have a few lights. Who's first? You and Mr. Navy.
I just want to put this on record, and Jessica, thank you for putting this on. I mean, recreation has been something we've been dealing with for a long time. And actually, once again, I just think we're cleaning up some stuff that should have been addressed years ago anyway. But tonight, I just want to clear the record up and put this on record. I am not for or no, I'm against consolidation, but I am for democracy, letting the people decide what to do with the tax millage regarding recreation. Once again, I am not for or against consolidation. I am for making the people, letting the people decide. No different than what we did with the levy, educational, and what they tried to do with the law enforcement. Put it in the hands of the people. Let the people decide what's best for recreation, for the simple fact we've been battling this for years. It ain't this present council fault. Years ago, this should have been done. This should have been addressed. We again are in a situation where we're in a hot seat, and politically, we have to address it. We have to turn it over in the hands of the people if we believe in democracy. If don't come play with me with the Constitution. Don't come play with me with democracy. Don't make it convenient when it's only convenient for when it's your issue. It needs to be convenient all the time. So I am in support of this for the simple fact that it's going to be something brought back to put on the ballot for the people. I support whatever the people want. Thank you.
Mr. Darren Gidry.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, what is on our agenda tonight is to create just a group of people to look at recreation, to see if it can be made better, to make recommendations. This is, there's no action. I guess we would be silly not to open ourselves up to anybody who wants to give us information. I'm open to everything. It doesn't mean I'm going to agree with what they say or how they say it. But hey, information is golden, and I'm open to anybody who has any way to make things better. But what I want to point out is, I know we talk, we're focusing on some things that maybe some of us think are wrong with recreation. But I want to look at it from a lens of when I took office and today. And I can tell you recreation is better today than it was 4 years ago. And, can it be better? Hey, that's what I would like to know from these people. But we have done leaps and bounds with at least the 2 recreation districts I have. Recreation District 9 has always been a well-functioning recreation district. But we have done so many things in Recreation District 2-3 that people know that their money is being spent wisely. We have a large group of representation from throughout the Rec 2-3 community who is looking over everything that's done in that district. These are things that we didn't have before that we have now. So it is so much better. I want to highlight recreation, at least in my districts 9 and 2-3, are so much better than it was. Can it be better? I don't know everything, and I'm not going to say that I do. If somebody else has some changes that we can make or present to the voters and it makes sense, ask the voters and see what they think. But I think we have made many, many changes that we were able to do without a vote of the public, and I think we've done leaps and bounds. We've had all the rec districts now at least talking to each other and sharing. Again, it is better. Can things be improved? We don't do things the way other parishes do. I don't know, but I'm interested in seeing what this group has. Hopefully there's a group of good people who want to serve on it, and hey, maybe they come up with some great ideas. But I want to highlight that, things are so much better in recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gidry. Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got in a little late and apologize to Ms. Domingue because of some things that were going on personally over the weekend. So we started working on some of my concerns with some of the language during the day, and she was gracious enough to make some changes. As I'm reviewing, I just have a couple more comments, and one that I did make earlier is where it says that the Terrebonne Parish Council pledged to proceed upon legal review with necessary steps to have the task force final recommendation placed. I would still like for the council to be able to review that, even though legal's reviewing it, because I don't want to make a pledge to something that I've never seen. So before I say that I'm definitely going to do that, I want to see it first. One of the areas that I haven't spoken with Ms. Domingue yet was maybe we need some criteria for selection of the members a little bit more. It says 4 large members of the business community residing in Terrebonne Parish. I'm not sure how we're going to select those, if it's going to be through organizations maybe recommending somebody like we do with other board appointments. So I would like to see criteria put in for that. One thing we did talk about, I felt that it was important to have a member of the recreation districts to represent on the non-voting area, because while you have Ms. Candace for the financial stuff, Mr. Roddy for TPR, and Mr. Dean in operations, I think it's important that we have somebody that knows recreation and how it's supposed to operate. I can tell you that before getting involved in parish government, I had an idea of how I thought parish government ran. Now that I'm in parish government, and I really learned it before with my wife being in government, that it's not as I thought. So I think it's important to have a representative of recreation. And what was placed on here was Recreation Advisory Committee Chairman. I would like to see that changed to a member selected by the chairman of the 11 rec districts. Let the chairman select somebody that they want to represent, who they feel would be most knowledgeable of how the districts run. So that way, as these citizens come with an idea, this person would be able to advise them on whether or not they can actually do that based upon the ordinances and the operations of the rec districts, just as Ms. Malden would do for financial and Mr. Roddy for programs. And that's the only other changes I would suggest making to the document. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Ms. Domingue? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Your first statement, and I appreciate your feedback as well. Your first statement regarding whether we're going to see it first, it's actually under outcome, and it says the draft proposal shall be submitted to the Terrebonne Parish Council by December 15th. This would be, of course, for us to review it, to discuss it, to vote on it, and then being able to be approved by January 31st. So I have those dates in there, and those dates are all in line with the Secretary of State so that we can get it submitted to them. So I did have that in there, and I do support that idea of having someone selected from the rec districts. I think that's a fantastic idea to have that group represented, and so absolutely I appreciate and support that change.
Okay, just going back, it says that in the outcome, but then what I was quoting says that we're going to pledge support to have the task force final recommendation placed on the ballot. I'm just saying, I don't want them to think that what they're going to give, we're not going to critique. You know, because we're gonna review, we're gonna ask legal questions, we're gonna make sure that it's also in the best interest. A lot of times when people serve on committees and task force, they get upset because the exact wording that they put forth was changed, and I don't want them to think that their final is not going to be scrutinized a little bit more. That was my only concern. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Mr. Michelle, your lights on?
Yes.
I can't see it with your bottle thing. Mr. Michelle.
Okay, thank you. You know, I keep my hopes up that there's not an underlying agenda that's operated behind the scenes from other people, and it gets harder and harder to keep those hopes up, okay? Councilman Darren Guidry was correct when he said a group of people might have something to offer, but we're not looking for a group of people. We're looking for a group of specific people that keeps recreation people out of it, and even if they're in it, they're non-voting members. I mean, you know, that's ridiculous. Why would we eliminate the people who know most about education in this parish? Because there's a predetermined outcome. It says it right there. It says that what's going to happen is going to probably require voter approval. They know that they want to redistrict. They know that they want consolidation in some way, shape, or form. And this is a consolidation task force. Modernization has nothing to do with it. there's been many issues where consolidation has resulted in regret on the part of districts through, I don't know about throughout the state, but I know of two at least. And we're trying to use consolidation as a solution for the fact that we have not held boards accountable. Okay? We certainly held Rec 2-3 accountable, and as a result, the board has changed. Whether or not it should have is a moot point at this time, but we do have a great board on Rec 2-3 right now. And, you know, we've held them accountable. There are other boards that have not been held accountable. And so people are afraid to hold them accountable, so let's get a group of people together who want to consolidate to form what we're going to just describe as a task force, and you know, try to go in the back door to get consolidation done when it wouldn't happen through the front door. And you know, Mr. Navy, you're right. The people have a right to choose, but we're not giving the people a right to choose because we're handpicking who's going to be on there based upon their opinions and their previous knowledge. We only want people who don't know about recreation on this task force. So you know, I have a problem with that. And I tell you, on a procedural basis, I have a problem with 8 o'clock this morning having a whole different backup for this agenda item. That should have been 2 days in advance, and it's not, and I think that's unfair to the people who are making an attempt to monitor what goes on at these council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navy.
Do you want to let her respond?
Oh, you want to respond?
Thank you. First of all, there was only very subtle changes, and it was the actual council members who notified me. I'm sorry, Mr. Michel, you did not notify me of any changes that you would suggest. You know, Councilman Michel, I'd also like to read a quote of yours from February 16th, 2020 editorial you published in the Houma Courier, and I quote, "While consolidation would have to be voted on by the public to place it on the ballot, must be approved by the parish council. Should we bring this proposal to the voters at this time? Not in my opinion." You went on to say, "As long as the majority of the people of the parish don't have access to actual facts, or at least balanced opinions, I would not support placing consolidation on the ballot." So first I'd like to ask you, Mr. Michel, would you consider the findings of a task force to be, quote, actual facts?
Not if you exclude the people who know the information from being on the task force.
But Mr. Michel, you're going to be choosing the people that are on the task force.
We're gonna have one person from Rec 2-3 on the task force, okay? And who's that gonna be? Okay, I'm not gonna get into all of that right now, but this is all about politics and consolidation, that's all. We know it, you know it, Mr. Guidry knows it. It's gonna be somebody who wants consolidation, and y'all trying to get in the back door what we didn't want to do in the front door.
So secondly, Mr. Michel, do you still believe that the voters of Terrebonne are not sophisticated enough to cast a referendum vote in their best interest?
But did I say that?
You did in your article.
I said that the voters of Terrebonne are not sophisticated enough? Oh, wait, no, I implied it according to your implication. That's not what I said. Please don't put words in my mouth. I never said that the people of Terrebonne Parish are not sophisticated enough. Please don't put words in my mouth, ma'am.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah. First of all, I am 100% opposed to consolidation in Terrebonne Parish, of the recreation district, okay? Simply because, and you've heard me say it plenty of times before, I represent District 4, 9, and 10. And each one of them are financially stable, their facilities are top-notch, and they're kept up to the best that they can be kept up. Go down to Grand Kaya, look at that gym that was built, I think, in 1957. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's been flooded 4 times. It used to be an evacuation center not too many years ago. Mr. Trosclair has one in his district in Montague, built at the same time, evacuation center. And they're as pristine now as they were when they were built then. I'm not trying to say that we don't have some type of problem with recreation in this parish. But If we're having problems in a certain area, why do we want to penalize the people that have been doing it right all along? The idea of a board to oversee this, I do not have a problem with. But let me ask this question. If we have a medical board, who do we have on that board? We have doctors. If we have a architectural board, who do we have on that board? Architects. We want to put people on this board who know maybe nothing about recreation. I don't have a problem with putting one person from each recreation district on this particular board and let the chips fall where they may. We have other people that are going to be coming from the community. I mean, you used an example about the soccer people. And listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. I did not get back to you today on any changes, but you and I spoke about it, I think, 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of gave you my feelings. All I'm saying is that I don't have anybody in my mind right now in my district that doesn't have an opinion for consolidation or against consolidation, that can come in here with a complete open slate and do a good job on it. But I do know that I have representatives from 4, 9, and 10 that have their heart in recreation and will get on a committee and vote and try to do what's best for Terrebonne Parish, okay? So that's one of the only things that I have a problem with right here. I also, the scope of work, A, B, and C, may not encompass everything in this particular area, okay? So I think we maybe need to leave it a little bit open and not just classify this A, B, and C as you have it listed, okay? And again, you may have clarified that in the up-to-date thing today. I honestly did not get a chance to read it until I got here tonight, Jessica, okay? Because today was the third Monday of the week for me. But in any event, I just want you to know, I'm not opposing this. I'm trying to tweak it a little bit where I think it might be more effective. If we get people on there who only know about, well, I mean, it has a tendency, and I'll go back to something John even alluded to a while back. When under Don Schwab, and Don Schwab has been out of office now for at least 13 years, they had a fiscal review committee. And on that committee, they had CPAs, they had very qualified people in this community, and they made recommendations. John, do you know off the top of your head how many of them were accepted or we ever did? Not a one, correct? From the Revenue Review Committee that was done 13 years ago. All
things that were accepted.
A very few minor things, excuse me. I stand corrected on that one, okay? So my point in this whole idea here is maybe more the makeup of the board rather than just the board itself, okay? I truly believe that the people in the rec districts know more about recreation than somebody who doesn't. Now, the other person may have more knowledge in accounting or in other areas, and that's not to say that we can't. We have 11 districts, and the board is going to be made up of 15 people, so that's 4, and then you have at large people or ad hoc people. So you can, if people want to get on this and do what's right, whether they're a voting member or not, they're going to go to that meeting and they're going to put their input. And then the voting members are going to hear, no different than what we do right here. We don't always agree on everything. That was evident tonight and even right now. So I think open dialogue with people who have an interest in it, first of all, and a knowledge of it, I think can be more beneficial. That's just my take on it. But as far as not forming a committee, no, I am for forming a modernization, if whatever terminology you want to call it, okay, to see if in fact Terrebonne Parish needs to have something changed and ultimately put it on the ballot. You want to find out if people want consolidation, let's put it on the ballot before we come up with a plan. If they want consolidation or not, then we may not have to go through this exercise, right? You see where I'm going with that. Again, I just want to let it be known right off the bat that now, nor whatever if the recommendation comes out of this for consolidation, unless there's some earth-shattering thing in there, I can't vote for it even when it comes up then. Because of the people that I represent, all right? Because the people that I represent elected me to represent them, and they're doing a good job. So again, the idea of a committee, I think, is wonderful, okay? I just wish we would take a look at the makeup and how we're gonna make it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Navy?
Once again, the politics of the past is the reason why we're here today. We're not a true consolidated government. I don't even know why we call ourselves consolidated government, because we're not true. A lot of areas of consolidation didn't take place because years ago the old guards weren't able to take care of this process. That's why we're here. The thing I want to get again, I said in my opening statement, I said I am not for nor against consolidation, but I am for the people making a choice about what they want. I'm hearing you saying something about recreational board members on this committee. That's fine and dandy, but guess what? This is not a task force with doctors or engineers, whatever. Why? Because you're still playing with taxpayers' dollars. That's general public. That's GQ public. You know, anybody from the public. We all council members up here, we serve in different capacities. We all have different we everything. We here making decisions for you all, for the public. So don't tell me that a task force has to completely just be that process. These are the taxpayers' dollars. These are people that's, whether they mothers in homes or teachers or whatever the situation is, that's their money for these rec districts. So all I'm saying is give the process to the people to be able to make a decision what they feel is best with their taxpayers' dollars too. Once you start playing these politics as the old guards did, we're gonna keep being where we at today. We need to make some serious, real changes. And that it needs to start with the people. I don't understand, and Jessica, I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't understand, no matter what you come up with, what's wrong with putting it in front of people to vote? You keep saying, we here, we make the decision, we represent. Put this in front of the people. It's obvious that we've been debating this thing for years. Nothing has got done. Recreation is still the way it is today. I don't care how you try to clean it up and say it's running so-called certain type of way. Recreation is a problem in certain areas. If the people don't want it, they're going to vote and tell you they don't want consolidation. If the people want it, they're going to tell you they want consolidation. Leave it up to the people. That's all I'm asking, whether I'm for or against. Leave it up to the people.
Mr. Harding? Woke you up? I'm sorry.
Actually, I read the letter. I've heard some statements. I represent Recreation 11, yeah. Recreation 1, Recreation 8. I've gotten phone calls from part of 2, 3. And the thing about that, the phone calls that I've gotten from 1 and 8, and I went to 11's meeting last night. I also spoke to Ms. Domingue, and I said I would support her with the opportunity to present it to the council, and it goes from the council to the task force, and what the task force has to do to eventually bring it back to the council. And I'm going to stick to that. I am not for consolidation at this moment. I'm representing the people that is not for consolidation, but I represent not only the people within the districts that sets about District 2, Council District 2. It's been a lot of talk, a lot of accusations, politically motivated things. There are some things that are in here that says recommendations. I have a problem with Shell. President Dove have 11 representatives already that meet. And I actually made the comment the other night that, you know what I mean, evidently these guys are not doing their job, or someone is insinuating they're not doing their job, they're taking it personal. I take it rather personal because, you know what I mean, when it comes to this point right here, when Record 11 was out there fighting for themselves, it seemed as if that nobody wanted to come up until the dog goes into their yard, and then all of a sudden you want to come up and talk. I'm gonna keep it real with you. So, you know what I mean, if you want to be consolidated, we all one. I'm not for consolidation. I'm for representing the people, but it seems to be so much stink when it involves you. But when it's across the board, like Mr. Navy had said, if you want a true democracy, do it right. You're going to sit there and let Rec 11 actually go sink to the ground, and now everybody want to talk about how they want to do things. But do it right. And ask for Rec 11 and whether or whatever recreation district that is accused of not doing right or not being able to handle their business, and somebody's doing this and doing that. Bottom line to me, I have nothing against the task force, and I'm going to stick to this like I always been sticking to it. 2-3 has the millage coming up. This is the politics part of it. Has the millage coming up in November. This task force has until December. I've been saying all along that we can't do nothing until that millage is passed, because if you're going to consolidate it and do anything across the board, you want to have all the X's crossed up, the I's dotted, and the T's crossed. You're just blowing smoke in the air right now. But I'm not going against you because it is a democratic process giving you the opportunity, and if it turns in and when they come back, something is different. You know, I'm not worried about this, that, and the other, but we already have rec districts. We are the elected officials. We appoint the rec districts. So we're getting another task force. I don't mind that. I really don't mind that. But if it's going to be done, let it be in a true democratic process. It's 15 members, and the members are picked from those areas. But then even to the point of saying minorities, if you're going to go to minorities, it's 20% of the population. Some minorities. So therefore, is 15%, 20% of 15, that's 3. You're only getting 2 minorities. And then you're designating 4 other people. So, you know what I mean, that is politics in there. So let it come back to us. We do our job. And as I close, see this name calling stuff? And who did right and who didn't do right? I don't like that. I really don't like that, because everybody has fault in here. If you want to call a spade, you want heart to heart, call a spade, and a heart to heart. But I stick to it. If anybody done something wrong, that took any of these taxpayers' money, and nobody went to jail, I think they should go to jail. So if you're going to make accusations, follow up on your accusations. Thank you.
Mrs. Darren Guidry?
And I know we're digressing. You know, I have back issues, and I talk to people, and somebody will say, I have the same back issues. Well, really, what did the doctor say? I didn't go to the doctor because they're going to want to do surgery. Well, how do you know? Well, they're going to want to do surgery. Well, you know, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said I didn't need surgery and was able to prescribe me a medicine and a physical therapy regimen that helped tremendously. Had I not gone to the doctor, I wouldn't have known if I had just thought surgery. Oftentimes, looking at ways to make recreation better, we don't look at it because, oh, this is a path of consolidation. You know, consolidation, hey, I've looked, in the last 4 years, I've looked at everything, and consolidation was one issue. But you know something? I have never found a way that it's going to give my people better service than what we have right now. Namely, and you mentioned the renewal, okay? It's very important, and I'm going to say this to the voters, we have to renew Rec 2-3's millage. It's a 5 mil tax. The lowest millage out of all the 11 rec districts is in Rec 2-3. Now understand, if this board decides to consolidate rec, your taxes are going up. Now, am I excited about going and raise your taxes? Look, we just cut some taxes here to try to save money. No, I'm not interested in raising your taxes. That's why we have to approve the 5 mills. If we don't approve the 5 mills, guess what? Consolidation may be the only thing on the panel. But we need to renew the 5 mills. That at least gives us an option. When the task force comes, there might be changes we can make that aren't consolidation, right? But if we don't renew the 5 mills, it will hem us in. So we got to renew our 5 mills so we have that option. because there might be some other changes we can make to make it better. Again, it is much better today than it was before. I hope this is not a task force with a ulterior goal. You're saying we're going to appoint them. What does that mean? That the council members who represent a rec district will appoint the member from that rec district?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and
We're gonna appoint everyone to the task force.
you know, and
There'll
that may be something that we have
recommendations,
to
yes, but
work
we're gonna
out,
appoint everybody.
hopefully with our fellow council members, because, you know, you wouldn't want somebody who only represents 5 people in one. I might represent a house in 11, I don't know, but I don't think I should have the same vote as Rec 11 as Mr. Dirk Guidry. But we need to make sure that indeed it is people who are there with an open mind, with a blank piece of paper, saying, you know, can we make this better? If so, what recommendations do we make to the council? And again, guys, renew your 5 mil renewal when it comes up in November. That's huge. That gives us tremendous amount of options in what we can do with recreation. It's hugely important. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Danny Babin.
Yeah, I just want to clear up something that whether he meant to say it that way or not, Mr. Navy made it sound like that I was not for sending it to the people. And if you didn't say that, then I apologize to you. But it sounded like after I spoke, you spoke and said we need to send it to the people. We are a representative form of government right here. We were elected by people. But each one of us, if we don't know it already, each one of these recreation districts was established, and they had to go before the voters for a millage. So the only way that can be changed is it has to go to the voters, okay? So to assume that any of us do not want to send it to the voters is a misconception, because no matter what the task force comes up with, or this committee comes up with, if it's any kind of change where there's a partial consolidation, a full consolidation, a moving of lines from one area to another, it will affect the millage that was voted on by those people, so therefore it has to go to a referendum of the people. So 2 things. I'm not for consolidation. 3 things, excuse me. I'm not for consolidation. I'm for forming a committee with some tweaks, as I said earlier, and we all know it has to go before the people. Thank you.
Mr. Michel.
Okay, I would like to ask, Mr. Lloyd Poisson if he'd like to comment on my light.
Well, he's got a speaker cord.
Oh, okay, so we didn't get to the speaker card yet?
No, we didn't get to speaker cords.
Okay.
Okay, all right, well, then you can wait. Did you fill out a speaker card, sir? Yes. Okay, then you can wait for the speaker cards. I'm so confused. Okay, all right, so the speaker card on this particular item, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's got one here.
Okay, all right. Okay, I just wanted to be sure that, that they were gonna have the opportunity to speak. And I certainly think that if there are more tweaks to whatever this is supposed to be, that we need to not even vote on it tonight, we need to put it off, because it's, first of all, even what we have here was only put up this morning, and we need to, there obviously need to be some changes made based on what pretty much everyone is saying. Thank you.
Mr. Abear, you want to speak?
Yeah, once y'all get finished, I have a
Okay.
question to ask.
Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yeah, one thing is, I do believe in democracy. I think every man, woman should vote and speak their piece. Mr. David just mentioned a little while ago about not a true consolidation, but even with passing this and consolidating this, Terrebonne Parish is still not a true consolidated government. The road lighting district tried passing a simple thing as to consolidate road lighting districts years ago, and it failed. Everybody's happy with what they got. The district I represent some of Rec 11, and the majority of I do Rec 7 in Chauvin. Like Mr. Babin said a while ago, his district, Mr. Steve Trosclair's district, and my district, you can go in these recreation centers and you can't find a speck of dust. I know I've had water in my recreation district, Steve had water in his, and Danny's had water in his. These people go out of their way for what, $25 a month? Y'all do a great job, and there's not been one iota of anybody saying there has been misspending in Danny's district, Steve's district, or my district down there. I'm gonna tell you, I'm against consolidation because this is not right to do. The people down these bayous do what's right. It's just a couple of rec districts that have a couple of flaws. Mr. Darren Guidry brought it up one time, and we redone the whole board. It seems like it's working. Rec 2, 3 is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's working right. Now, we may have a few problems with Rec 11. We need to straighten them out. We've been having problems with Rec 11 for years. And we need to straighten Rec 11 out because why should everybody in this parish have to be consolidated because of one rec district? We need to straighten out that rec district like we did with Rec 2, 3. I am totally against consolidation, but I am 100% of the people speaking what they want. And if it has to go to a vote for them to speak it, let's let it go to a vote. But I'm going to reiterate again, I am against consolidation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Domingue, your light's on.
Yes, thank you. To go back to what Mr. Babin had asked earlier, it will be more than just the 3 items that are listed as the goals. And that was, it was said earlier, something that was changed in the final draft that I submitted this morning. So it says, the verbiage says specifically, at least 3 alternatives. The final recommendation may be some combination of these or some other alternative discovered by the task force. So it could be anything that they come up with, but let's give them the opportunity to do the study and come back and bring it to us. That's the only thing I'm asking. Thank you.
Mr. Guidry?
One more thing, Steve. I think this is an important issue, but I really think it should have been held off after the millage election. Because this right here can only hurt Darren, your district from getting the tax passed. And if the tax doesn't pass and this consolidation doesn't pass, what happens? Rec 2, 3 sitting out there in the middle of the woods with no money to spend to help their recreation. What are they going to do? Come back to Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for money? This should have been held off, and this is a serious deal about recreation. But it should have been held off until after November. If this has been going on for all these years, why couldn't we have waited 3 more months? Thank you.
Darren?
And I agree with Mr. Dirk Guidry. I would have liked to have seen this diverted, but it's out the bag now, so we're here. But I do want to point out that the changes that were made is one of the main reasons why I am okay with it, and that is the other alternatives discovered by the task force. I mean, with 3 just narrow things, I would have never supported this, and I mentioned it to, as probably some other council member mentioned it to you too, and I'm glad you added that in there, because I want this to be a blank piece of paper with them. I'd rather not even give them any, the group any of these 3. I'd rather just say, all alternatives. So, okay, thank you.
Steve, what? Oh, Carly's got his light on.
Carly, Carl Harding?
Again, and I'm saying that, given an opportunity, and I kind of agree with Drake, but then it was, let the people have an understanding. And it all boils down to, everyone knows that on the planet that, I have a passion for Rec 11. Because I left half of my skin through the years of my life on the property. But, again, I want to take the politics out of it. If anyone got offended about me saying that, I spoke the truth. It's the fact that each individual recreation district have their own ideology in reference to their culture and how they want to handle their business. So, they don't want to actually lose that control of it. When you get down to money, and I'm going to tell a little deal that some people think amount of money that they actually contribute to consolidated government, it pays all the bills. Well, if you don't contribute your money, it won't stop Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government from operating. So those people, the powers that be and the powers that want to be, that are out there talking about their tax dollars are according to what they have. And I think to a certain extent, it goes back to some of the people that I represent. How much money do they have? And I've read the task force and a lot of things by these other groups. And it's about money, it's about control, it's about money, power, and prestige. Let it be to the individual people. There are things that Terrebonne Parish itself, Mr. Roddy Liddell, he has the responsibility for creating services and the programs for Terrebonne Parish Recreation. But these rec districts are for the communities that pay the taxes. And these people should be able to govern through their districts what they want to do. Again, I don't mind being at the table and making a decision. I don't mind. You know, I listen to everybody. You know, I listen to Danny, and Danny said this is going to be a long one, so I'm going to pull my next thing on the agenda. So I'm just saying, look, don't nobody get mad. What we're trying to do is trying to get everything squared away. I feel for Jessica. She has a heart in it, you know what I mean? And let's kind of be cordial about what we're doing and be mindful. Thank you.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, and I applaud what you just got through saying, Carly. That's very. We have a tendency to raise our voice on here, and it makes it sound like we're angry, and we're not angry. This is what democracy is about. It's called discussion, all right? And we ultimately are going to vote as a representative form of government, or send it to the people of this community to let them vote on it. Along the lines of what was said earlier about, you know, this was changed today. Each one of us, if the public doesn't know it, this is a part-time job that we have, okay? Each one of us has a job, except Mr. Corley. He's fortunate enough to be retired, okay? And Mr. Guidry's retired, Mr. Darren Guidry, but he's not retired because he works all day long in the businesses that he has. My point in saying that is that when we come up with ideas, and your ideas are good, if we could somehow or another get things a lot sooner, okay? And I know you worked on this today to try to change it for the better, okay? But a lot of it came out at the last minute here tonight, and it portrayed to the people that we were arguing about it. And please, who's ever watching right now, this is not argument. This is debate. This is discussion. Okay? We all want the best thing for Terrebonne Parish, be it recreation, drainage, streets, sewage, whatever. That's our goal. That's why we ran for office here. But the sooner we get things, the better we can digest them and give ideas to people. So my statement is, Ms. Domingue, is that I would like, and not only on this, listen, we had a discussion when we were on the council before about putting people's names up at the last minute to vote on them for boards and commissions. We don't want to do those types of things. So in any event, enough has been said about it. I like the idea of forming a committee. I don't particularly like the idea of the way we're going to pick the people. But we're going to put it to a vote because a motion has been made and seconded, and however it comes out, we live with it and try and make it better. But I want the public to know that when we form this committee, and the recommendation of this committee, whatever it comes out, that does not necessarily mean that this board has to vote that way. We have the opportunity to digest it, to try to tweak it, and then send it or not send it. Well, we'll send it to the people, okay? But it's not an absolute that this board is going to tell us we're going to consolidate, or we're going to add 2 or 3 districts, or we're going to move a line, okay? Theirs is going to be a recommendation back to this body to determine whether it goes any farther than that. Thank you.
You done? Ms. Domingue?
I'm going to recommend that this not be held over. There was 3 subtle changes in verbiage. The one that I mentioned earlier about the final recommendation, maybe some combination and that was taken from Mr. Amity. The second would be upon legal review, which was also a recommendation that Mr. Amity gave me. And the third being that instead of having the rec advisory chairman, have someone appointed from the recreation boards. That was the only three very, very subtle changes that I included in this entire document. So I'm going to recommend that this not be held over and it be voted on tonight.
Oh,
I didn't recommend to hold it over. If somebody did that, then they did, but I did not recommend to hold it over. All I'm saying is I'm a person that normally reads everything that comes before me and absolutely just did not have time to do that today, okay? So if I'd had it yesterday, maybe it would have been. But again, I know you got input from John and a number of other people, which is what we're supposed to do, all right? And I want people to realize that's what we're supposed to do. Before we go to a vote, if in fact it's going to be that somebody neutral from each district is going to be in there, I'm asking the people from the rec districts that I represent, the neutral people out there, please call me so I can get your name so we can put you on this board. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Miss.
Well, I want to say a little thing before you speak.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I wanted to advise y'all, I know there's been a lot of talk, but somebody maybe should have called me, if I can just maybe guide you on this. There's already Jessica, Mrs. Domingue, under Article 5 of the Recreation Ordinances, there's already an advisory board set up. And nobody asked. So what I'm saying is it's a 17-member board. It's a 17-member board. It's just not used. And it's got who sits on it now. That doesn't mean that has to stay etched in stone, but we already have one. But we already have it set up. We already have it set. You already have it in place. And number two is, I would recommend if you're going to do something like this, that you have a set of ordinances appointing this board in which its duties and responsibilities. Obviously, it cannot take over the role of the executive branch of a home rule charter government. But it can make recommendations ultimately be decided. But I'm just letting you know it's sections 21-49 through 2965, Article 4, Recreation Advisory Board. So I mean, if you want to change it and make changes, well, we're going to have to draft ordinances. It's going to have to have a holdover in order to draft the ordinance. You got to create the committee by ordinance. Now, what I'm saying, if you want to use the one that's there, go and look at it, and it might fit you, but they already have one. Is what I'm trying to tell you. It's already set up under our ordinances.
All right, Jules.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're saying that she cannot put this committee together by vote tonight?
What I'm saying is we already have a Recreation Advisory Board ordinance that's on the books. If we're going to create, if she's going to create a new task force committee, we're going to have to go change the other one and put this in place by an ordinance. The council can do what it wants. It can create ordinances. But we're going to have to create an ordinance to create what you're attempting to create.
So that has to be done by ordinance, is my question.
Yes, sir. It should be done by ordinance, in my opinion.
So basically, tonight, all we can do is make a motion to send this to committee to create an ordinance.
What you would do is you'd send it, if first of all, what I would tell y'all is to immediately go and read what's already on the books. If you want, if Ms. Domingue wants, I will come back at the next meeting. I'll come back with the next meeting. I'll make the changes to the ordinances to try and reflect what she wants done. I don't. That board on the books is, I think, a little different. So let me go back and look at it. But I would recommend that if you're going to create a
The
board.
point is not to dissolve this board that's there already.
Excuse me?
her mission is not to dissolve the board that's there now.
Well, the board doesn't mean anything. I think what I'm telling you is there's a set of ordinances with a task force, but it doesn't meet. It's just, I'm telling you, it exists. So if she wants to
There
change.
is a separate one besides the advisory board is what you're trying to say.
What I'm saying is we already have an ordinance that has a recreation task force advisory board. Okay, so
Wait, what is the difference between what she's doing in Gordy's advisory board?
well, the parish president has an advisory board that advises the parish president, but the parish president does not have any legislative function. Okay, it's just an advisory board.
Well, this is just a task force that she's setting up for recommendation versus to try to see if they need to go on the millage. I mean, to go on the ballot. This is nothing that's in depth as far as what the recreational board meets on. It's a total separate thing.
Well, I'm just saying
It's a total separate thing.
I understand it. What I'm saying though, what's on the books right now, Councilman Navy, is not President Dove's task force. This is a set of ordinances that's already exist.
So what you're talking about is not the task force that President Dove set up.
Exactly. It's
So it's
not
a whole
what I'm
different
telling
thing.
you about
There's
is
just nobody on that board that you're talking about.
right.
It's
I mean,
a
you can tell
non-functional board.
this one it's a 17-member board. It's got
Okay.
people appointed. What about a school board? I mean, I don't have the full version of it, but I mean, you want to create what I'm saying, you ought to have one on the books. This is for the council now. This is not the one that, this is not Gordy's, what I'm talking about, Mr. Navy, is not Gordy's advisory board. There is an advisory board task force already on the books. Is what I'm telling you, advising you.
Jessica.
All right. A few weeks ago, we put together a diversity and inclusion task force, brought up by Mr. Navy, which I sit on, and I don't remember us needing an ordinance for that task force. And I don't believe that this is the same mission as the other group that you're speaking about. So I do think that this should be a separate entity, because it has a separate mission. So I still think that we should vote for this tonight.
Okay. I want to put my 2 cents in here. I've sat here and listened to everybody, and there's been, a lot of talk about giving it to the people. There's been talking about the demographics have changed. People have moved. Geography has changed. I spoke to Councilwoman Domingue today, and there are some things that I'm concerned about with the verbiage and some of the things in her deal. And I spoke and I let her know what my concerns were, and along with Dirk, Councilman Guidry, and whoever else said that they were. I am not, absolutely not, in any way, shape, or form in support of consolidation. Okay, I've said that since I've been on the council, and I'll say it till I'm off the council. I don't have a problem with with this committee coming back with recommendations, but and if you read it, the gist of the whole thing is based on consolidation. Now, there are other things that can come into it. It's just an advisory, it's just a research committee they're putting together. As far as sending it to the public to vote, I absolutely have no problem with sending it to the public to vote. But I will not support a parish-wide vote. I would support a district-by-district vote, because a parish-wide vote would be so stacked against the bayou communities that we wouldn't have a vote. So if we're going to put it to the vote of people, the only way I'll support putting it on the ballot is if it's a district-by-district vote. Now you got a true representation of what each district wants for their district. Other than that, you're gonna, it's proven that the bayou communities don't vote as strong as in the city, so we wouldn't have a vote, So if you're gonna go to people with a vote, In my opinion, it has to be a district by district vote. Now you get a true representation of what your district wants. You know, I represent part of District 3A, 5, and 6. All the districts that I represent that are in my council district function with relatively zero problems. I don't see a point in changing that. From talking to Councilman Guidry, Councilman Babin, parts of Councilman Darren Guidry and Councilman Amity's districts, rep districts, and Jessica's, they have no problems with a lot of their districts. So, do we want to make a colossal change that changes the whole dynamics of recreation in Terrebonne Parish? I say no. The majority of it is working. There's only a few sections of the recreation district. Not every recreation district got internal problems here and there, but nothing detrimental to the operation and the finance of that district. So my position is I have no problem with this task force. I do have a problem if it goes, if it's decided that they're going to come back, and it looks like this, because, you know, I hate to see it, and I don't really hate to see it. This has rec reform all over it, okay? It's written all over this. So their mission is and always has been to consolidate recreation. And, you know, they tell me no every time I talk to one of them. That's not their mission, but that is their mission. And it's stated here. So I adamantly oppose consolidation. So once again, that's my take on it. I have no problem. I will vote for this committee. I'll support Jessica on the committee, but I will not support putting it on a parish-wide voter ballot where the Bayou communities will get snuffed again.
Point of information, Mr. Chair. Somebody said that the task force of unity in Terrebonne Parish did not go to
Put your mic on.
Put your mic on.
I thought it did go to public hearing. Was it, it did go to public hearing, so my question is, was that an ordinance, or was it not an ordinance? If it went to public hearing, I'm guessing it was an ordinance. It was not an ordinance, but it went to public hearing, didn't it? Okay. I thought we did it twice, though, which would have indicated a public hearing. Okay, all right, so stand corrected, thank you.
Mr. Derek Guidry?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everybody, Lafourche Parish thought consolidation of their rec districts would work. So they consolidated all their rec districts, and a couple of years later, they went back to single districts like we have right now, because what was happening was the monies were staying in the northern parts of Lafourche Parish and not trickling down to the bayous. So that's my thing I'm scared of, you know. And once if say like this would pass, and you'd have a rec district, you'd have a committee of individuals made up to run the rec district. I don't know how they would do it. I don't know if it would be going through Rodney LaRail or how you would run this whole operation. But if there's 4 or 5 people that decide what happens with rec districts, how you gonna pick these people, you know? Because if you get like around Rec 2-3, Rec 10, the northern parts of the parish, if you want something, a playground, say, and if it's in Rec 2-3's district, and you got Rec 10 right there, I don't know how you're going to consolidate the northern part of the parish. But these people in the northern part of the parish are going to outvote my district in Chauvin. Because you got 3 or 4 living in the north part of the parish that's voting for one thing, and maybe I need a park down in Chauvin. So I'm going to get my representation from the down the Bayou area is going to be nil, because they're not going to vote. They're going to stick together and vote for a park in Houma instead of putting one in Chauvin. Same thing with Danny Babin or with Steve, you know. How do we know that when consolidation is formed, if it would pass consolidation, how do I know that Danny Babin, Steve Trosclair, my district, and Carly down Gibson, how do we know that we're going to be getting our share?
Equal share.
You know, I don't understand that. I don't know how you can figure it out, you know? Who's gonna figure it out? I mean, all these questions gotta be figured out before we put this up to the voters. We got to know how it's gonna work. Not just this committee right here, but once it goes to the voters, and if the voters would go to consolidation, how would we run these reg districts? I mean, the rec reform has been hollering for 2 years. Reform, consolidate. And they've come and they've come. The Soccer Association came, everybody came. But guess what? It's 2 years, and nobody has ever brought one recommendation to this whole council on how to do any damn thing. So if y'all been so busy and want it so bad, why hasn't anybody from these organizations come and said, look, we want to consolidate, and this is what we want to do? Why has it taken 2 years for Ms. Domingue to have to come up here and do it? Why hasn't anybody else in these other districts with rec reform come over here and propose something? So, you know, we just better figure out what we're doing, guys, before we do it, and we regret doing what we do because, look, Lafourche Parish did it. They passed it, and they went back to the different reg districts because it wasn't working. And one thing you got to remember, I talked to these guys in Bar Lafourche over there, that once they consolidated, all the monies that they had in their accounts for these reg districts went to the main reg district. But guess what? When they went back to their different reg districts, the law decided that the parish, had to pay back these reg districts like the money that they had. So if my district in Chauvin's got $1.3 million in the bank, well, when they went back, because consolidation wasn't working, they had to give these reg districts back their money. So, you know, that's a lot of stuff. It's not just going over there and consolidating. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, you want to put it on, hurry up and put it on the ballot. This shit's been going on for years. Why don't we take our time if we're going to do this, do it right? But I just hope it doesn't pass because I don't want consolidation. Thank you.
I see you got your light on, but I have a lot of speaker cards, so let's let this fellow
Let's let him speak. I just want to make a substitute motion, okay?
Okay.
And let's let him speak before, because we'd have to vote on the substitute motion immediately, and I don't want that to happen.
Okay. First speaker card is Mr. Ed Bice.
Yeah, we could.
And just remember, we got 3 minutes. State your name and address, please.
Is on. Can you hear me?
Just press the button to the top.
Let him speak. It's all right.
Yeah.
Maybe not loud enough.
Just pull it down a little bit, get close.
My name is Ed Bice, 1920 Garnerwood Street. I am a member of the Recreation District 2-3 Board. I am not here to speak on behalf of that board. Nothing that I say is representative of that board. I'm here to speak as a citizen. I personally do support Ms. Domingue's article that she's putting out here, and I do ask all of you to vote on that and to have an open mind. Everything that has come out of opposition that you spoke has said consolidation. Nowhere in her description of what she's putting forward says anything about consolidation. It says to put a task force that you guys are going to sit and put together and put it to the task force. Let them see how things are going. People have brought stuff to this board and it's been dismissed and it's been dismissed and it's been dismissed, and you can't tell me honestly that you sat down and looked at any of it, thought of any of it. You heard the word consolidation and you threw it out the window. And that's the truth.
You're wrong.
That is the absolute truth for a little bit of this council, but especially for the council that was before this council. You hear the word consolidation and you throw everything out the window. Things have been brought to the council by rec reform or whoever it was. I don't believe that this is something that's coming from rec reform. You can have your own beliefs on that. I think this is something that Ms. Domingue has come up with because she feels that maybe there's something that needs to change. Again, the task force can meet and nothing does change, and we go back to 11 rec districts and we handle our constituents. As a member of the Rec 2-3 board, I feel that there may be change that could better benefit the people of my district. Whether it's consolidation, whether it's not consolidation, it's not for me to say. But I just ask that you have an open mind. if you do vote on this, and then you have an open mind to whatever this task force brings forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bice. Mr. Kirby Verrett. Say it again? I'm just getting them according to the order I got them in. Mr. Prassall.
Mr. Trussell, can I make a comment about what he just said?
Yes, go ahead.
Item C under this modernization task force charter says completely consolidate all recreation districts into one parish-wide district, either immediately or resulting from a series of incremental steps to that goal. I mean, that's one of the three things that they are looking for. It says it in black and white right here. Thank you.
State your name and address, please.
Lloyd Flintstone, 103 LeConte Lane, Houma, Louisiana. I took time today to write this down so I wouldn't go over my 3 minutes. So I will tell you that I was responding to the backup that was printed 2 days ago. I was not privy to any changes that was made earlier today. So I'll just start by reading my response. It is disheartening to know that a council member would choose a time when we are in the middle of a pandemic to criticize the recreation department and the recreation districts. After reading the task force proposal, it was easy to see why. This council member is looking for a one-way street to consolidation. Instead of coming to a recreation advisory board meeting, a board that was set up by this administration to address concerns or improvements, you are choosing to use this sham of a task force to further perpetuate the myth that the Chamber of Commerce purports to be better for this parish. It should be noted that at the beginning of the stated task force purpose, it reads as follows. The task force shall specifically carry out analysis on 3 alternatives. A, alter existing boundaries of one or more of the existing recreation districts. B, merge one or more recreation districts. C, completely consolidate all recreation districts into one parish-wide district. Please note, not one word on how we can improve on recreation programs or improve on facilities. Not one word. If this is not a one-way street to consolidation, please tell me what is. In order to further drive this agenda down the one-way street to consolidation, you have included measures in this proposal to ensure success. You have eliminated every recreation board member and every board member's family members from being able to serve on this task force because, as you say in this proposal, is a way to avoid potential conflicts of interest. Listen, it is common knowledge that the Chamber of Commerce, the local newspapers, and other special interest groups, including the Soccer Association, have spent countless hours and have attended many council meetings in support of consolidating recreation districts. Yet in an effort to avoid potential conflicts of interest, you failed to eliminate chamber members and their families, members of the special interest groups and their families, news people and their families. And really, you should go one step further if you want to avoid conflict. You should eliminate the employees of the Chamber of Commerce for obvious reasons. Now, it sounds foolish.
Hold on, Mr. Kirk. Mr. Motion to extend, Mr. Darren Guidry, second, Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, go ahead.
That may sound foolish, but I'm just using your thought process. In closing, let me say this. On behalf of the recreation districts, please see this for what it is, a one-way street to consolidation, and please vote no on this resolution. By the way, my phone has rang. I've been on the phone over 6 hours today, probably another 4 or 5 hours yesterday from the people that I represent in District 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poisson. Mr. Verrett, state your name and address, please.
Kirby Verrett, 183 Coast Guard Road, Dulac, Louisiana. And I am want to share with you, I do chair, and I had to write it down because this is a long name, but it has done a lot of good work.
Mr. Barrett, if you're comfortable, could you lower your mask so we can hear?
Well, I usually mumble anyway, so I don't know if it'll make
That's
any
a lot
difference.
better.
Okay, thank you.
But I do serve as President Gordy Dove's committee, advisory board. Is called the Parish President's Parish-Wide Recreation Advisory Board. We have every district represented. We meet every month. We've had this struggle with the COVID, but we've met. We've dealt with decisions. We've come together. In less than 3 years, we've clarified and improved on communications between the districts. We found ways to help each other, save money. We communicated, and I appreciate those who have come out to the meetings. Thank you. So you know we have a dedicated parish-wide committee. And I'm still wondering, where are the people that have all these ideas? I do believe in democracy. By all means, when I look at you folks, I see you as representing us on the bayou, in town, all over the place. And you are charged with making decisions. And all this, I appreciate the talk about passing on to the people. Mr. Guidry well said about the backdoor consolidation. I do chair District 4, Grand Caillou Dulac District. Our people appreciate the fact that they do have facilities in their own backyard, close to the bayou, gym, parks. We've expanded. We're building a new park in Ashland South. We've bought property to expand parking at the Grand Caillou Gym because we fill it up, and we fill it up. And different people come and use it. All public people come and share. And my concern is, quite frankly, we always want to talk. I understand, Ms. Jessica. I know you're trying to do what you feel is right. But we've been there. We've been in the mess that we went through with miscommunication, misunderstandings. That parish-wide committee has sacrificed to make sure we always had a quorum and we're bringing people together. But the ones that I want to hear from is the ones that keep wanting to talk modernizing. Look, folks, we always want to improve. We want to improve in Houma. But we also know that we need to look at it.
Second.
We do need to look at the fact we want to improve. I don't know, what can you improve? Down the bayou, when you talk about this consolidation, they want our money. People pay money, millages, to support recreation. And if there's not enough money, where all the people in the affluent areas live in Terrebonne Parish, well, then tax yourself some more. You want more? Okay? You want more? Don't take ours. Okay, so it's been a long time, okay? These laws were passed to create these districts. Our community may have shifted in Grand Caillou, Dulac. Population may have shifted closer to Houma, but they're still in District 4. Our population basically the same. So please, why don't you let the parish-wide committee do the business? If people that are so interested in consolidating, why don't they come to the meetings? I don't know if I saw any ever come. So the idea of giving it to the people, I'm hearing from the people that they're not into it.
Mr. Verrett, wrap it up, please.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chris Chasson? State your name and address, please.
Chris Chesson, 516 Cavaness Drive. Just have one question based on this, and it's towards legal. Jules?
Jules, he's got a question that would be pointed towards you.
The question is, if passed as stated, would the council actually have the ability to make any kind of change based on what this recommendation comes back as?
We don't have to take any of it into advisement.
That's, I'm asking them because it states that you do, in my opinion. If passed as stated, does the council have the ability to make any changes to the recommendation that's going to be put to the ballot?
Yes, this is an advisory. As I read this, what they're trying to do is create a recreation advisory board. That's all this is. It's an advisory board to the council. Okay? So as I read what they do, what this is being created, and this task force would then have to report back for the council. The council ultimately has to pass. The task force can't make the decisions and supplement itself for the council. I mean, it has to come back to the council. That's what I was trying to explain earlier, is that it's already on the books. You do have the right to appoint a recreation task force, but unless there's an existing one appointed. Now, the question was, you'd asked about, and I said, about John, yeah, there was no, the type of task force he appointed, there's none on the books. But there's a recreation task on the books. The only thing I'm saying is you can appoint yours tonight, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to have to get rid of the other one because the ordinance is a law and it's already on the books. And in our charter, it says that you cannot create another task force that already exists by ordinance or state law. And so I don't mind, you can appoint your task force, but I'm just going to have to get rid of the other one. Okay, but this would be advisory in nature. This is what this is as I read this, I mean, I don't know how, as I read it, it's an advisory board that's going to make recommendations. If that's the intent of it, I presume.
The reason that I'm asking the question is it states, the Terrebonne Parish Council pledged support to proceed with necessary steps to have the task force's final recommendation placed on the October 19, 2021 ballot.
Well,
So it states.
It says that reciprocally in good faith, the Terrebonne Parish Council's pledge to support upon legal review necessary steps. But the council ultimately has to place this on the ballot. The task force does not have that authority to place this on the ballot. And the council would have to place it on the ballot. You're the elected legislative branch of the Home Rule Charter. Okay, you go to Article 1 of the Charter, as the executive branch, you are the legislative branch. You cannot delegate that task to a task force. Okay, you can't do it. Now, you can have the task force come to you and make advisory stuff. You can put in here that you're good faith, but ultimately, I mean, good faith is going to be up to the vote of the individual councilman. Yeah, I can't. What I'm saying is common sense. I can't tell you that task force is going to take over the council. I think y'all all realize that. And I was just trying to explain that, unfortunately, I mean, you can appoint your task force tonight, but you're going to have to, next week, we'll put on an agenda and get rid of the one that's already on the books. That's the only way you can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, and I just want to comment about the task force itself. The last thing I would want with this to be in the law. This is just an ad hoc something, a one-time only thing. And I look at what Ms. Domain put together. I mean, I know you were very thorough in putting it together, but this is more or less what I look at as a series of goals for this committee. Well, they're not this is not law. This is a simple motion. So the committee is very casual in its, and I prefer it to be casual. And Chris, the last thing we want to do is create a formal committee and be talking about this for the next 6 weeks, because people get confused because they hear this, that we're forming a task force, and they think that their money is not being spent properly. And it is being spent properly. We're just seeing if we can make it better. So the last thing we want to do is talk and talk and talk about this, We need to get past this, and we have a millage we need to renew, and we need to get parks open, we need to cut grass, and we need to do what you guys do best. Thanks.
Mr. Harden.
Yeah, and we're making it more complicated, I think, than what it is. The word shall and recommend. And ultimately, regardless of whether it got 150 people on this task force, if it goes into existence, it still has to come back to the council, regardless. So, you know what I mean, ultimately, we're the ones that are gonna make the decision. You know what I mean, that's recommendations, but then I think the word shall makes more of a definite thing coming from the task force, and then that's the only thing I have. The task force cannot really dictate, take the word shall out and make recommendations toward the council if the council want to do that. Yeah, because it's more and more. That's the only thing I really had with it. I'm in agreement with it, but then that task force can only make recommendations to this council.
Mr. Danny Babin.
Yeah, along the lines that you just spoke about, Darren, if in fact the intent was to take a look at recreation, then we should not have had steps that we wanted them to look at. If you want it to be completely arbitrary, you want them to come in with an open mind, don't give them an agenda of 4 or 5 items to look at. Come in and look at recreation as it exists in Terrebonne Parish at this point in time. My point I want to make right now, and again, I told you earlier, I have no problem with this, but Jules has put enough doubt in my mind, and I don't normally agree with Jules. I want him to know that right now, but I happen to be agreeing with him tonight that if something exists, whether this is going to be one that you want to do by ordinance or not, it's also been said by everyone up here tonight, this has been going on for decades, okay? So with that being said, I will make a substitute motion to hold this over for 2 weeks where you can get with legal to see which steps have to be taken, either to incorporate it with the other entity that's on the books right now, or us take that one off and put a new one on, and then we move forward. We can't appoint anybody tonight anyhow. We have nobody that wants to be on the board that we know of yet. So all I'm asking is, and for us to be prudent with it, and if we want to do it properly, and we truly want to do what's good for recreation, if 2 weeks kills us, we're in a bad shape. So I make a substitute motion to hold this over where you can come up with the right verbiage that you want to have that can come before this council. We can create this thing, and then they can come to us with recommendations. And I'm asking for a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. But before we vote, we're going to listen to the other 2 speakers.
I didn't know you had others.
Mr. Sean Dupre. State your name and address, please.
Sean Dupree, 613 Gaynell Drive. I am part of what we call the new Rec 2-3 board. Just some things I want to point out. You know, when we came in as this new board that was replaced, that Mr. Darren Gidry put in there, it came under a lot of controversy. You guys mostly aware of that. Some of the goals that we set forth was to be fully transparent, move forward the construction of Bayou Country Sports Park, continue the parks and improvements in our other parks and playgrounds, and continue, you know, having top-notch facilities. We feel we did that and some, and I think you guys, we got your support in that. However, it took money, and it took renewal, and it took a millage to get all that done. Here we are going into the renewal that's on the ballot on November 3rd, less than 3 months from now, and we're asking that this, you know, my issue with this task force is the timing, just like Mr. Harden stated, you know, is the timing. A lot of you guys talking about the timing, Mr. Babin, you just said 2 weeks, you know. Mr. Harden said it clear as day, can't we wait 3 months? You know, I would love to see this thing get passed. You know, how can we go to our constituents of Rec 2-3 and ask for, you know, approval of our $5 million renewal? At the same time, this task force is figuring out a way, according to those, you know, steps A, B, C, to go into consolidation. And that's my whole deal, is the timing of this thing. You know, we're in the middle of trying to get this thing passed, so we can have funding, so we can continue on with the some of the goals that we had continued to set forth. And in my opinion only, if this task force is formed, we got an uphill battle to climb when it comes to our renewal. That's pretty much what I got. I thank you for your time, and hopefully you guys take that into consideration moving forward this vote. Thank you.
Sean, while you're out there, are you interested in paying more tax?
Not at all. The reason we put up the 5 mills, we are the lowest millage in this parish. You know,
That's
same
it.
thing.
Any
And-
consolidation is going to require Rec 2-3's people to pay more tax. So, you know, I'm hoping this committee comes up with, you know, options that maybe prevent that tax from going up. But we still need to approve the 5 mil tax.
Agreed.
But thank you. I agree with you as far as the timing, but here we are. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dupree. Nicholas Hebert. State your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Is it okay if I take this down?
Certainly.
Yes, thank you. Nicholas Hebert, 276 Lake Pension Court, Houma, Louisiana. I serve as government activities chairman for the Terrebonne Parish Chamber of Commerce, Houma Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Domingue asked the chamber this morning, or actually yesterday, for a letter of recommendation or a letter of support on her plan. I come here tonight on behalf of the entire chamber board and executive committee, which approved by vote today the following letter. Dear Ms. Domingue, the Houma Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce and our board of directors are in full support of your proposed Terrebonne Parish Recreation Modernization Task Force Charter. We have encouraged ideas such as the task force to develop a strategic action plan to modernize the current 11 recreation districts. And this is all written on behalf of Mr. Chuck Weaver. Having personally served on Recreation District 11 in the past, I worked diligently with Councilman Danny Babin in District 7, and Councilman Dirk Gisry in District 8, and former Councilman Red Hornsby, attempting to improve purchasing, accounting, and managerial procedures and eliminate duplication of cost, taking advantage of efficiencies of scales that are provided when individual districts work together for our parish, much like our consolidated government which you serve, makes good sense for the people of Terrebonne. We continue to support and encourage each member of our parish council in their efforts to improve the quality of life, thus creating a positive economic impact to Terrebonne Parish. Sincerely, Chuck Weaver, Jr., Chairman, Houma Terrebonne Chamber of Commerce. The other part, I'm also a Rec 2-3 voter. I'm a District 6 voter as well. I've presented now 3 plans to this council on behalf of various entities to update our recreation system. So to say that nobody has brought a plan to this council or the prior council is inaccurate. We presented one to deal with the issues at Bayou Country. We presented one to deal with the issues prior to the last Rec 2-3 millage proposal, which was defeated by a 55 to 45 margin, 56 to 44 margin. And I presented another one to the Rec Advisory Council 2 years ago, and it was completely ignored. It is time to address these issues. Can we wait 3 more months? We've been hearing 3 months at meetings for 3 years. Mr. Guidry, when you guys first uncovered District 11's issues, it was 10 years ago since Mr. Weaver served on that board.
No.
Well, he told me today. Well, he told me it's been 10 years. Well, so 9 years. So I missed one. The other issue, though, is that Mr. Babin said that people are going to come to this with preconceived notions. You all are doing that right now. The plan simply says to carry out an analysis of 3 alternatives. It doesn't say to recommend anything. It doesn't say full consolidation. It doesn't say a tax increase. It doesn't say any of that. It simply says put multiple parties in the room to focus on an issue in a very concentrated time period, by the way.
Motion to extend, Mr. Hamady, second Mr. Derek Guidry. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion carried.
Thank you very much. It doesn't say what the recommendations have to be. It simply says, put the voices in the room. We've heard multiple rec boards come up tonight and ask for that. We've tried doing that in every other avenue. I welcome the opportunity to participate in any recreation discussion. I've hosted events down the bayou on very different organizations. We've put on tremendous events in other areas of the parish. To say that we're going to forget this committee or this task force, whoever's on it is going to ignore the concerns of down the bayou, that's kind of insulting to our parish people. We care about each other. My family's from the Chauvin area. I hope we don't leave Chauvin and get left out on this. So those are some of the things that I think we can all kind of say, look, are we really rejecting 15 volunteers dedicating their time, effort, and energy that, like Ms. Domingue points out, would normally cost tens of thousands of dollars to get done? And some of the other comments I wanted to address tonight really quickly. Mr. Michel, during the Council on Aging discussion, you were adamant about the voters made their decision.
Start wrapping it up, if you don't mind.
The voters in Rec 2-3, largely in your district, voted down the millage. When you look at the precincts and the data from it, your voters in your district have already spoken on this issue. Mr. Babin, I agree with you. No preconceived notions going into it. But you all are doing that right now. Mr. Hebert, I read the ordinance about the committee. It's very dated. It's got appointment of 6 HARC board members. I don't think we're going to be able to find those. So I think you can certainly address that task force tonight. There's no need to kick this can down the road any further. Do you really want to take the Rec 2-3 millage, of which I'm a part of that community, who just voted it down, bring it to us again in November, and not having done a whole lot to change what failed it in the first place? I don't. I don't want to see my kids' recreation go unfunded. But if you kick the can and you do it, it's going to happen again. Thank y'all for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just would want to make it clear that under the Charter 707, you can appoint a task force. You can appoint this task force tonight. But the next meeting, I will have to get rid of that other recreation ordinance. I don't have any problems with appointing the task force. You have the right to do it. Okay, but since we have a recreation task force that is already under an ordinance, the charter says if there is an existing ordinance or a state law, you have to get rid of it. And that's all I'm trying to explain. Next meeting, I'm going to prepare an ordinance to dissolve that old task force ordinance, that old recreation task force ordinance that's under the recreation, under our recreation code. I'm just going to get rid of it. We passed it, we can get rid of it. What I'm saying is I have no problems with passing the task force tonight. I'm just going to get rid of that, the next one at the next meeting.
Right, I got a substitute motion and a second. Okay, discussion. Who's lighting first? Jessica.
Yes, the current task force, are they meeting now? Is that, what is?
It's an ordinance, it's a law, it's on the books. Unfortunately.
Is it something that's active at this point?
It's not, I do not think it's been active. I mean, it's a recreation task force. It's got its own chapter in the code.
So
And it's got 17 members, it's got it all laid out.
So my question to you is, if we go ahead and move to pass this tonight, to say that we're going to allow the Recreation Modernization Task Force to begin its work, it's not going to affect anything or affect anybody who is currently working towards anything because they're not meeting.
No, I'm going to get rid of it at the next meeting. I'm going to pass an ordinance to revoke that task force.
Okay, and then possibly in December, when they bring us their report, if we want to put that other task force back into action for whatever reason, we could at that point.
No, realistically, I think you need to take it off because it didn't. In fact, we looked at doing it when we were gonna do the pass ordinances and they didn't pass, so we discussed about, Darren, I think if you remember, you and I had a discussion about trying to clean up some of that older stuff, and I was gonna clean it up. But I'm just trying to follow what the charter requires, Jessica. I'm not trying to tell you, I'm saying if the charter says if you have an existing ordinance, then you can't go by resolution. An ordinance is a law. A resolution is, you could put this board together tonight, and next week come back and pass another resolution and say we take it away. An ordinance, you can't. It's the force of law. That's why the charter says if there's an ordinance, a board set up by an ordinance, a task force, or set up by general state law, then you can't pass it by resolution.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Darren Guidry.
Yeah, and committees and groups that are going to meet on a regular basis, going to be long-term, yeah, they're done by ordinance. But the problem is nobody ever gets rid of them when they're done by ordinance, and this is one prime example. It's very easy to get rid of, a matter of just putting lines through all of it and removing this ordinance from. So, I mean, that's a simple thing, and that doesn't stop anything. I wanted to speak about the substitute motion because I oppose a substitute motion, and I ask my fellow council people not to support that because we have to have a decision on this today. Discussing this for 2 weeks and another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks is killing me in the public, trying to explain to people that Rec 23 is doing a great job, renew their millage. And when we talk about these things, it confuses people. So please make a decision today and don't kick this can so we're not talking about this for the next 6 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Babbitt, you want to speak?
Yeah, so we want to vote on an impure object to put out there just so we can get it done tonight. That's not what I want to speak about. Mr. Hebert, thank you very much. Your words were well said. Mr. Weaver said in his letter, because he sent me the letter today as well, I just want everybody to know that when Mr. Guidry and Mr. Hornsby and I, with Mr. Weaver, who was on the Rec 11 board at the time, were talking about a specific problem at that time, which was 7.5 years ago to be exact. That was a problem that existed on the Rec 11 board that does not exist today. So I don't want the two put together that what happened then and what happened is now is the exact same thing. And I don't think you implied that, but I just want to make that clear to everyone that because what we did then was entirely different from what we're doing now, nor did we ever talk about consolidation. We were only trying to get to a root of a problem with accounting and purchasing at the time. So to me, it's completely different from this. Listen, I don't have a problem with pulling my substitute motion tonight. If we think that what we have is the best product that we can put out tonight, then let's go ahead and vote on it right now. I'll pull my substitute motion. I happen to think it's not the best product that can be put out. I think that 2 weeks, we could make a much better product than what she has tonight. And that's the only reason I asked for a substitute motion. As a matter of fact, no, I'm going to leave my substitute motion in there because I have a second on it. And if it fails, that's fine. But I'm just trying to get, as we all say, the cliche, the best bang for our buck. We got a lot more input tonight than she was able to get on the telephone talking to a few council people today. And if she can make a much better, a purer one, then it sends a much better signal out to the community that we are unified in what we want to do, and we have one single direction that we're looking for. That's the reason for the 2 weeks, not to hold it over for another 2 weeks after that, nor another 2 weeks after that. So my substitute motion stands.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the substitute motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Let's
call a hand vote.
And roll call vote, please.
That's correct. Roll call.
Mr. Danny Babin?
Nay. I mean, excuse me, for.
Mr. Dirk Guidry? For. Mr. Charles Clare?
Nay.
Mr. Navy? Nay. Mr. Harding? Mr. Michelle? Mr. Amity? Ms. Domingue? And Mr. Darren Guidry?
Nay.
Now we have to vote on the regular motion.
5 nays.
5 nays and 4 yeas, so the motion fails. Now we're gonna vote on the regular motion. Roll call again.
Nay?
Mr. Darren Guidry? I'm sorry, Mr. Darren Guidry? Mr. Trosclair?
Yay.
Mr. Navy? Mr. Harding? Mr. Michelle? Mr. Amity? Ms. Domingue? Mr. Darren Guidry?
63.
We have 6 nays and 3 yeas.
Motion carries. Thank you. Move on, item B, Councilman Carl Harding, discussion possible action relating to proposed projects in District 2. Mr. Harding.
I'm going to pull that and discuss it at a later date. I think I'm eating on some corn chips myself. I'm pretty sure everybody's hungry. So
Okay,
we're
thank you,
going to talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. The motion has been pulled by Mr. Harding, so we're gonna move on to announcements. The parish president's not here. Council announcements. I didn't see who put on first,
It
but
doesn't
we'll
matter.
start
Go ahead,
down the
let 'em
line with Mr. Danny Babin.
Okay, just to dispel some of the rumors out there that we hear on television, depending on what station that you listen to, about antibodies once you've had the COVID-19 disease or virus. I was tested for the antibodies 104 days ago and tested positive for the IgG antibodies, which means I had the disease and my body, my immune system has built up that immunity. I tested again this week and tested positive for it again. That means the antibodies, at least in my body, lasted 105 days so far. So when you hear out there that it only lasts 2 weeks and it only lasts 5 days or whatever you're hearing out there, I'm telling you I'm living proof that it's lasted at least 105 days. That's not to say that it might stop tomorrow, but I'm no scientist, but the tests prove what they prove. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Amity. You have your, you don't have,
Yeah.
oh, you got it on? Okay, I couldn't see it. Mr. Michel.
Okay, thank you, and that's good news, Mr. Babin. Okay, I just want to remind everyone that August the 15th, this Saturday, is an election day. Please go vote. You don't hear much about it, but it is absolutely an election day. If you receive something in the mail, a ballot in the mail, and you did not send it back in, you can still go vote at the polls. It does not take your name off the ledgers at the poll unless they receive your vote at the Registrar of Voters office. So please go vote for or against this school board tax that is on the ballot this week. Please go vote. They paid almost $100,000 to have it on that ballot, so please go vote.
Thank you, Mr. Amity.
Yes, as many of you know, I tested positive recently for COVID, and I went through all the treatment. And what I want to encourage the public that's watching, in my case, I deal with sinus issues year-round. So it wasn't normal, it wasn't not normal for me to have a postnasal drip and a cough. But I suspected something was off when I woke up that morning with a 101.8 fever and a sore throat. That wasn't normal. And for the sake of all those that I work with and I'm around, I immediately scheduled a doctor's appointment and went and get tested. They did. I asked them to swab me, and they also gave me a treatment. And I believe it's because of my quick action that I was able to recover and have what I would consider mild case compared to some of my friends and others that I've heard about that have really dealt with pretty hard. And as Mr. Babin will agree with me, I don't wish this on nobody. And I considered what I have a mild case. But I think that my quick action kept the effects of it down, because I have friends who were also contacted by the same person. We caught it from the same person, and they waited, and they're still battling it today. I've been released from quarantine for a week. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you think that it might be off, please go get checked, because early treatment will help you in battling this disease. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed and Mr. Navy.
Yeah, and I want to thank these real heroes, I call the real heroes of the community. I want to thank Ochsner Health, Hospital Health System, Mr. West, who is the Regional Director of Government and Community Relations, along with the Public Health, Dr. Riggins and Christy Howard, and also Steve Pineville for setting up a lot of community testing sites that was very successful throughout the parish. And I want to make sure I get this across to the public. Don't believe the hype and don't believe all the insensitive communication that you may be getting. Protect yourself, because don't depend on others, especially the government, to protect you. I want to also thank Ms. Angela Guidry in purchasing for the outstanding job she has done as far as distributing out supplies and masks to the public. And I want to remind everyone, we're still dealing with the census, so fill out your census information if you haven't already. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navy. Mr. Harding.
Yeah, I was in my freshman year sitting on this council, and I would like to thank the council staff, Mr. Toots, Ms. Candace, Chris, most certainly David Rome and Mr. Steve Pineville. Danny, I am somewhat retired. I'm avid about what I do, and I bother these people a lot, so I appreciate everything that you guys do for me. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. And I just want to remind everyone to keep our law enforcement, first responders, firefighters, veterans, and active military in your thoughts and prayers daily. Monthly engineer reports, as per Councilman Darren Guidry, second Mr. John Davy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Motion adjourned, Mr. Darren Guidry, second Mr. John Davy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.